I'm using my earphones. I'm having trouble with the multiple earphones, so I'm using just earphones to listen in to everything. It's live at 11:41. It's live and on air. Oh, okay. I'm going to just do a short broadcast. I don't think I'll be, unless a lot of people come on here and keep me occupied, which they normally don't. I will be off here shortly. Just saying that it's Thursday. Happy Thursday. Everyone out there. Playback devices. Headphones are automatically on. Okay. So I should be able to hear anyone that comes on the air from my group or whatever. And I got public on there, amazingly enough. I'm still freaking on that. I'm like going, oh, wow, I got public. High CPU usage by Hangout plugin. Well, of course it is. And what gets me is that this high PCU comes in automatically. And I don't even have my minicams turned on. There we go. Minicams is turned on. I'm broadcasting. I don't have to actually go to my... Well, I shouldn't have to go here. Okay. Well, I did. I guess I was cut off when I brought up my minicams. But no. I'm here. And thanks. It is Thursday. Thanks. Yes, it is Thursday. The 29th. January is almost over. We're almost on a new year. And everything seems to be fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, they got all this stuff getting ready to happen everywhere. They're out there going, war, 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 war. You know, terrorists everywhere, terrorists everywhere. And it's like, you know, Nostradamus came out with that in his predictions that there'd be terror, 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 terror. And that's what I hear now is terror. Now, they haven't thrown the last card down. The last card is the UFO card. And they will bring out their UFOs they back engineered or created over the years and start using them and saying, look, we're being invaded by aliens. That's the new threat. Everybody get together again. Clap your hands. We're in a war against the alien terrorists. And I can see that coming. I really can. And, you know, and it was by Moulton, or whatever her name, Linda Moulton, I think, said that when she was with Newman. And Newman kept telling her, they're going to play this card, you know, and then they're going to play this card, the terrorists in the Middle East. And when they're done with that, they're going to play the last card, alien invasion. And yeah, that's what they're getting ready to do. They're getting ready to pull out the alien card. It just blows me away that they're getting ready to play the game. And we're all going to be involved in the alien game. The alien game is that they're going to pull that card out after they get tired of terrorists everywhere. And they're going to say, look, Reagan told us we should be afraid of the aliens. And it's coming. And, well, that's what he said. But I know that we have the technology. There's people at certain airline corporations that were working on airform aircraft, and they came out and said, hey, we've been there, we've been out there, we did Star Wars. We even got involved in Star Wars. I mean, literally Star Wars with aliens out there, and they're all pissed off at us because we went out there and beat their little Just like we're doing on Earth, we're trying to do the same thing again, and it's going to come back on us like a plague. And, well, and next thing you know is we have flying saucers flying around blowing stuff up and stuff because they think the whole entire human race is evil, but the ones that know, who's been here for thousands of years and came through subdimensionally. Now you gotta remember, these are subdimensionals. I've just went over a bunch of material on subdimensional aeroframes that are able to appear like an alien craft, but they take the form of human forms while they're in flight in the air. Some of them are able to start out as a little, like I don't know, like a phenomenal little sphere of light, and they turn into an aircraft and go flying off with the blinking that we have in our aircraft, and they use that too. That was another thing I came across in my studies today, and I went, wow, you know what? They may just be interdimensionals. They might not even be extraterrestrials from another world. They may be interdimensionals. Maybe they're traveling here from another sphere, but that sphere, even if it's material like us, they're coming into this one interdimensionally. Just went over some material today. It just blew me away, and I'm like going, I'm starting to rethink some of my thinking on this. That, you know, I don't want to take the Christian view on this, but maybe they're, you know, fallen angels or something, or just interdimensional beings. I watched the thing. It told me how we go from the first dimension all the way up to the sixth dimension in our way of thinking. But scientists believe there's 11 dimensions. Well, I knew that. That was per se, and I went, yeah, I know there's 11 dimensions. But how they led us up to the sixth dimension in this documentary was really, really on the track of what I've read in Carlos Castaneda and his teachings of Don Juan, which was written back in the 60s. So this is not new information. It's really old. It's only new to the people it's just getting informed to it, starting to wake up to it, starting to see what's going down in the universe. And they're just now starting to realize that these lights in the sky that they're catching on infrared, you know, sniper scopes, basically. You know, I mean, you can buy one of them for about $3,000. It's Generation 3. You can see these things, and they're up there all over the place. Doesn't matter where you're at in the world. It doesn't matter if you're in Pennsylvania, Indiana, or Pakistan, or whatever. The soldiers reported these things in the sky with their sniper scopes because they're looking up there in infrared, and they put them up in the sky, and they're seeing these little lights disappear and appear, and they take different shapes and forms. On this one documentary, this guy actually showed that, look, they're using the light that you have with shadow to create holograms. And these beings, throughout the video, he takes certain frames of them and they change form. They're constantly changing form in and out of our reality and changing form. It's an amazing, amazing video. You have to check it out. You gotta have Roku 3 or something similar to go to these sites. But it's documentaries these people put up there, and they were like documentaries maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, and they're being played. Now, if you don't want to see the commercials, give them $1.99 and no commercials. But you know, they're showing these documentaries. I mean, this guy was down there in Louisiana. This is down in New Orleans. And he says, yeah, I can show you these things. and I'm going to take you out tonight. The guy that was running the documentary was going, really? You're going to take me out tonight and show me these things? And he said, yeah, you're going to catch the same thing that I've been catching for 6 years. And you're going to see the same thing I see. He took him out, and they had, infrared cameras. They're not really like the true, they're like first generation infrared. And they're seeing these UFOs appearing on the film, and he's going across the house, and there's this image on the house that appears when a UFO appears. And it's like they're projecting these things. They're actually projecting these images as a hologram into our reality. And like the film I watched on how this happens is more fantastic, and I understand. Cameras are able to catch things that we can't catch because we're doing frame by frame by frame, and we're seeing reality that way. I'm gonna see if I can put a link up on all this so you can come in. I don't know why it doesn't automatically give you a link to come in and open up, but I'll go down here and say something in my Google Plus under Spellbinder, and I'll say hi, and I'll put a space, and okay, what happened to my oh, there it is. I'm going to copy and paste this link so you can come in. I mean, this is like the hologram thing anyways. It's just weird. Okay, and I'm going to paste it, and there it is, and I share it, and there it is. You can come right on in and start talking. But I've watched these 3 or 4, I think it was 4 documentaries. I was going through Roku on Paranormal Activity and a few of the other sites that were on there, and they actually showed this stuff when you're looking at it and you're going, wow, these people. And it's not like it's the people producing it, coming out with the evidence. It's actually the people they go and interview, and then they take them out with the equipment that they were using and show it to them and say, look, this is what's out there. And this guy was kind of a Christian over thing, like fallen angel type thinker. And he says, yeah, these things appear, these orbs. Orbs are everywhere. You can catch orbs in your own backyard if you go out for infrared camera, even in the middle of 50 below temperatures where you shouldn't be catching insects flying around. There's no insect. If you study insects, that's why bats hibernate. That was one of the things they brought up. You think bats hibernate during the winter time because they can't go out and get insects, because insects aren't even out in this. And these things are going around, and she's zooming in front of the camera. You would be amazed. You'd absolutely be amazed if you came across with a camera and seen these things. They're out there. They're glowing orbs that streak. I mean, they call it a thing they call the caterpillar. I looked at that and I'm going, no, there's no insect that can do that. It was a caterpillar, they called it. It was like an inchworm, and it did it real fast, went across the video. And I'm like looking at that going, okay, now this catches my interest, because, I'm thinking extraterrestrials and, 30-foot diameter ships and stuff. But when it went on into the video, they're showing these little orbs about the size of a silver dollar rising up. And as they went up in the air, they got bigger, 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 until they started imitating our aircraft. So they had a red light and a blue light and they're flashing back and forth, and then took off like they were an aircraft. And I'm like going, okay, I can see that. I mean, they caught it on film, and they're showing this stuff. Now, my idea is I want to catch that too and put the same thing up on YouTube or something and say, look, these people are telling the truth. They're actually telling the truth. I know a lot about photography because that was one of my interests. And what they're showing is this stuff rising up. It's not CGA. It's not none of that stuff. It's real live video. And they're showing these things coming and going in orbs. I mean, they had orbs. They called them orbs, which were kind of transparent. You could see through them, and they would rise up out of the trees and go up in the air, and they're following them, and they would just suddenly take off and go wherever, and they just kept playing. I mean, I actually have done studies in fairies and fairy tales, and this is the type of stuff some people actually report seeing, because sometimes these, whatever interdimensional creatures they are, will allow you to see them. They will actually become into your visual range of sight, because we have a very limited range of sight. But they're catching these things on infrared cameras. Like I said, sniper scopes that are infrared, 3rd generation, and they're catching all this stuff on them. And they look away and go, I can't see that. And he goes, yeah, look, it's only in the infrared. You can see these things. And they're taking the camera off of there, and they're showing where they're showing it, and they're putting it back, and they're not there. They're invisible to our spectrum of sight. And that's where we're at right now. We're in I don't know, maybe this is part of the Montauk Project, if I dare talk about that, where they actually opened a 40-year opening in hyperspace to allow these things to come in, because they were kind of rare before then, but now they're everywhere. And when they started to appear in the 80s and the late 70s, there was none of the CGA, or CGI, I should say. CGI, there's no CGI out there. And they couldn't have faked some of the stuff. There was no way. They didn't have technology to do it. So whatever you're seeing now, and these people are coming out of Pennsylvania saying, look, you can watch these things. They're actually coming right at your camera. Stop. Look at you. I mean, this guy had a 2,000 candle infrared thing. It's a military thing that you could shine out there like a spotlight, and when you're looking through infrared, it's like a spotlight. You can see everything in the background real easily, even with 2 generation and 1 generation. This thing is like a spotlight in front of your infrared camera, and they were seeing these things, and I'm impressed. I'm really impressed with some of these graphic videos that they come up with, because they're really graphic. They have no fakery to them, and I've caught something. It's on my well, you have to go to Jason Moy on Facebook, and I have the picture as my background. And there's this like rat thing. I call it in the daytime on camera with this glowing red cat. I mean, it's actually glowing in red, walking into my frame while I'm taking a picture of deers across the street in the neighbor's yard. And it blows me away. Had a banner type thing. It looked like a T of wood. It kind of looked like horns on the top that were crisscrossing on the T, and had looked like something was attached to them. And I did not see that when I took the picture. It did not exist. when I took the picture. So I'm convinced what they're seeing is what I'm seeing, but they're doing it at night. I mean, these entities use the light and shadow to create themselves in the holographic universe, and they're able to be there, right there in front of your eyes, up in the trees and everything. And I'm kind of convinced about that because Carlos Castaneda wrote the books, you know, of Don Juan and, you know, Separate Reality and so on and so forth. I mean, I can go to all of his books. And these are the things that they were able to perceive after certain techniques of getting there. And they were able to see what the video camera sees. And the video camera can't lie in its own way. The video camera is only picking up extra spectrums of light that we can't see with our normal vision, normal thinking, because as it goes into our mind, we filter it out. And they were filtering this stuff out of our minds. And you can see all this stuff. I mean, it's amazing. It's really amazing because I caught something for the first time that was absolutely undeniably in reality at the point I took the picture. I mean, I took other pictures where I did time lapse over a pyramid and seen glowing spheres and stuff with the door and the hallway light on, and it was up against a black background. And I was able to see all types of stuff in the picture once I developed it. I mean, I actually did my own developing and everything, and I sat there and pulled it off after the exposure. I see a guy's face with a spiral on his forehead. It's real light. I seen bright spears moving around the pyramids I had. I built my own pyramids. You know, you can do that. They're only like 12-inch base by 11.5 height. And I've done things to them. I tourniqueted them, put a crystal down through them using, you know, different techniques. And I've actually seen this stuff before, just not like the picture I took that's on my Facebook. And it's under Jason Moy, M-O-Y. And you go there, you'll see it. It's off on the right side. I actually have a little thing down below that where you can click onto it, and you can download that picture and do whatever you want with it and blow it up and whatever, look at it. It was a rat riding on a cat. It's a red, fat cat, and it came into my picture. I've never seen anything like this. And I watched this today, and I'm like, you know, I caught this in full daylight. They were catching this stuff at night in the trees or whatever. When a UFO would come by, there'd seem to be these things. They were videotaping. Now, that's the difference that I didn't have. They were videotaping it, was able to take the videotape into a program where they could slow it down. And they were going frame by frame. And each frame, the thing they were pointing out had a different feature on its face. It was actually aware of the person taking the picture. They were actually aware of it. And this one creature they took a picture of had these eyes probably the size of a baseball. And it was moving these eyes around and looking, and it had something to its side, and it was actually moving while it was moving its eyes after every frame. And it was looking around and everything. I mean, it's this freaky stuff. I mean, I don't know. It's really freaky. Very freaky when I start thinking about that. I'm thinking about going out and doing video and doing the same thing. I have the technology to actually go frame by frame. I have the right programs to do the same thing, and I'm going to go out and prove it to myself. But they were proving it right there on the documentary, and they were doing frame by frame, basically of each frame, and this thing was moving, coming in and out of our reality. It was pulsating in and out of our reality, and it would get kind of blurry for a second, and then would come back perfectly clear and go blurry and go perfectly clear, but it wasn't like a real blur. It was still there. It would just get a little hazy, and this is what this thing was doing. And I'm looking at it going, oh, I see what you're talking about. I actually do. And I see that you're talking about, I just lost my entire audience. They all just went away. Huh, okay. I apparently went beyond their spectrum and understand. Like I said, you can go on Roku and find this stuff. Paranormal Activity has a video that talks about this, and also there's another paranormal, and these are documentaries they put on there, and you just sign up to them. It doesn't cost you anything, and you're able to watch all this stuff and see it, and it's there. I mean, if they want to believe in, Tono, well, let them believe in Tono. But you out there want to see beyond Tono and see the Nanago, well, you're going to have to do your research then, because these were beyond anything you see on YouTube. YouTube looks fake compared to what they're showing, and it really did. And I am awesomified by what I saw today. And I've done research, and I went to these other sites where it's talking about how reality is perceived, and I was like totally in agreement. Then they went to the Da Vinci Code. Oh my God, they went to the Da Vinci. I went and watched the Da Vinci Code, a real documentary on it. And they were saying that, yeah, of course Christ had a wife. He's a rabbi. At that time, you would be looked at as unusual if you didn't have a wife as a rabbi. There you go. I'm just trying to put facts out there. And he had a wife, and was married, and he married her at the marriage of the feast. They ran out of wine. We know who the head of the house would be during a marriage. It would be the husband, and Christ was called upon. We need more wine. Well, send them out to get more wine. You think about this stuff. And, well, you got to think about it, because we've been lied to for over 2,000 years at least. And we've been brought into this reality that everything is material. Everything is absolutely material. When in reality, nothing is material. Everything is a vibration of space and time, the fourth and fifth dimensions. Remember, your brain's inside this box called a skull, and it only knows what the senses is showing. Sure, you can touch yourself and go, I must be real. I can touch myself, and like on my arm, and I feel that. Well, yeah, you can, because you are a living reality from the outside to the inside. Like I said, God is not the imaginary playmate in the sky. He never has been, will be. Yourself if you believe in a God out there in the sky, the imaginary playmate. He's inside you. He actually created this illusion that you're living in so he could experience it. And that's basically it. It's really simple. It's not rocket science or anything. It's like, well, you're inside your body. You can touch yourself and go, well, I got to be conscious. I got to be real. I can scratch my arm and feel it. Well, yeah, but God's feeling that too, because He is separating Himself 1 degree from what you're experiencing to a point where He can just sit back and enjoy the ride. He's on the ride. I had some people on here, but they all just jumped off and went their separate ways. And I'm like going, well, see, you don't want to know the ride. You don't know that you're on the ride. And it goes up and down and circles and everything else, and goes through, and then it ends. You have a beginning and an ending to this ride. It's just that the ride takes several years to get through, and you're on the ride, and God's experiencing this ride. You have to realize what His actual motive is. He's actually still kind of infant in that respect. He's still experiencing it all. Otherwise, he would just shut this illusion down and just be him. But he'd be by himself. So he never shuts the ride down. Why would somebody who has a way of creating different aspects of itself by the billions and then shut it down? That would be his death. I mean, just shut it all down. Yeah, I don't know. It's too much of a theory out there, I guess. It's too much. Well, I got to go out there and punch and make a living, and Obama's destroying my life, and you know, we got Netanyahu out there with the people lining up for knee pads to him, and I mean, okay, I understand. I already understand. Yeah, if you want that, that's God's experience of His thing, and He would deal with that in the end. And He would do it because He's outside. Remember that, outside. He's outside the reality. He's in your skull. He's outside. When He's in your skull, He's outside. He's not up there in the sky. Remember that. This keep that in mind. God is not up there in the sky. He's the imaginary playmate up there that everyone believes in, that we pray to this imaginary playmate in the sky. No, you're praying within your head. And everything you ask for, everything you want is inside the head, not outside of it. Because, like I said, the eyes, the touch, all your 5 senses are the only thing it's giving you a reality that there's something out here anyways. Or you think God wants that? No, He created all that out there. Just keep that in mind. It's a thing to keep in mind. Keep God in mind that He's inside, not outside. Or He's outside of the outside of the inside. I mean, I can actually just go through and say that we're part of the illusion that God created. We have a consciousness, so He can experience that. And when we die, we're the Holy Ghost of the energy and go back to Him. Without this consciousness you believe in and reality, I mean, everyone wants to believe in that when I die, I'm going to still be me, myself, and I. No, you're going to lose that. It's all going to fade away when you die. All you have to remember is that you're a force of God that came out and created that. He'll put that back in his mind, back in the outside, but He's not going to let you exist like that. I mean, this stuff is ancient. It goes back thousands of years, thousands of cultures, and they all say the same thing when they say it. They all say, hey, when you die, your personality's gone. It's eaten up. It's part of the ego's gift. It's eaten up. The ego eats it, and your spirit goes back around the wheel again. You go into the fourth, fifth, sixth dimension, and you hang out for a while until you have your chance to come back down here. And that's basically it. It really is. It's reincarnation of coming back. I don't believe in the reincarnation of Hinduism because that's kind of ridiculous. Though I do see in certain animals like cats and dogs I've been associated with, but they seem to be on their own little loop, and they come back and seem to be intelligent, to a point, just like we're intelligent, and everything seems to work together that way. But how we are for sure, we don't know. I mean, if you look inside, you'll see the trueness of it. You'll see the higher self and everything else, because that's the only place you're going to find what reality is. Look inside to look out. And once you look inside and look out, you see everything as an energy field. It's all a giant energy field made up of quadrillions of particles of energy moving around, taking forms by thought. The physicists even knew this. They actually were doing these tests where they break 2 electrons up. They go to 2 slots, and they're expecting something, and it would happen. But if they weren't expecting it, and they had some type of way of monitoring it, a meter, it would come out different. And they're going, well, that's not going along with our theory, because I'm seeing 2 electrons through 2 different slits. These slits are splitting these electrons up. I'm observing them, expecting this factor to come out, and it does. But yet, when I don't observe it and look at it when it's happening, it comes out different. Well, yeah, because that's God. Not paying attention. And that's what I call it. I call it not paying attention. Attention is everything. We are on ley lines. Ley lines cover the entire planet like a soccer ball. It looks like a soccer ball. These lines crisscross and everything and make these pentagons up. Not pentagrams, pentagons. The pentagon's the center of the pentagram. All right, we want to look at what the crisscrossings are. This is actually causing the strange theory. It actually causes the string theory. If you want to go as far as some of these quantum physics, which is very close to what occultists believed in anyways. And it's a matter of observation of these energy fields. You're a concentration in your body of these energy fields. Therefore, you have influence on the weaker fields around you and able to bring them into reality. I mean, this is all physics. I mean, Maxwell even knew what was going on. Maxwell and his magnetic fields and everything. I mean, this guy was like 1930s or something. He actually knew all this stuff. It's not like diabolical or anything. It's not like it's Antichrist or anything. It just is. We're surrounded by everything you can imagine. I mean, imagine fairies. Well, they're the UFOs in the sky. They're sky fairies, right? You got ground fairies. You got sky fairies. You got, Tinkerbell running around. And they will take that form if they come across you. They'll come across whatever you're thinking in your mind when you see them. That little ball of light will turn into whatever you believe they are. They'll turn into a 3-foot gray in front of you, if that's what you believe. I'm just saying that this is the universe that we live in. It's really, and this is not New Age. This is biblical. It goes back in the Bible and everything. They talk about this constantly, angels coming down. And one of the reasons these guys saw, 6-foot people with wings and everything, because they saw that. Hello, how you doing?
Good, good.
I'm just sitting here just babbling off on stuff I watched today, and it just blows me away. I mean, it just blew me away. I was actually taken away by what I saw because I know it's right because I've studied this stuff over 40 years, actually 30, 40 years. I've studied occultism. And these guys are coming out in their research with electronic equipment and showing it and naming it what it is. I mean, you have orbs. Orbs are everywhere. If you have an infrared camera, you could probably sweep your house and see orbs in your house. And it wouldn't be dust particles. I mean, these guys were out there in the middle of winter when it's 50 below and saying, look, these things are flying around on my camera right now. It's 50 below. There's no insect that can fly in 50 below temperatures. Prove what I'm showing you. And they showed the trees with no leaves but snow everywhere, and they were blowing me away. They were actually blowing me away on this look. This other guy was taking pictures of UFOs down in Louisiana at New Orleans at this shipping yard. He was catching all types of stuff using the light from the lights that were used to light up the fishing thing in the shadows to make images and beings. And he was videotaping them, taking the videos, slowing them down, and actually, when you slowed them down to one frame each, you could see movement of coming in and out of the dimension. They were here for a moment, and then they faded a little bit, and they come back again. They changed facial features. He was picking all this stuff up, and I was just like going, whoa. I think we have interdimensional beings on the planet, not extraterrestrial. There may not be no extraterrestrial, but interdimensional beings. They're here living on a plane higher than we can see with our bare eyes. But yet now we have electronics that can see them. We can actually pick them out and see what they're up to. And they're everywhere. They're all over the place. You can go out in your own backyard and catch them. I mean, they're everywhere. It's another reality living next to ours. As far as we can see with the human eye. And I was just like, whoa. I was blown away by that because I had notion of that, but I never had any proof of it. And these guys just went out there and just said, here's the proof right here. We did the research, and there it is right there. This is what we caught. I mean, they caught all types of stuff. They'd see a UFO, and as soon as they see a UFO, they'd start seeing images in the holographic. I think they're projecting holograms is what it is. They may be aliens still, but they change shape and everything in their ships. Some of the ships turned into human forms, and they were like flying humans. That blew me away. There's some stuff that's really blowing me away right now because I'm starting to think that everything is a holographic universe. Definitely. We're in a hologram. And the hologram's constantly shifting left and right, up and down, whatever. And we're seeing all this. Really, wow. I mean, you have to see the videos. They're on, you have to have a Roku, I guess, and go on Paranormal Activity and what was the other one called? I have 100 channels, so it's kind of hard for me to keep up with all these channels I got off of Roku for free. I don't have to pay for them. There's free channels out there, and they have commercials on there. So you have to watch the commercials, 6 minutes for each segment, and you just get informed big time. A wake up call. That's the only reason I'm really on here tonight, just because I was just so overwhelmed by what I witnessed on these documentaries that were done, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And they're coming out with all this information. That's one documentary was just about the holographic universe almost. It started out saying this is what, Plato said back in the days. Then they go up to the next level. Then they go up to, some of the other philosophers like Da Vinci and everything. They just keep going. And you're just sitting there going, oh, wow, really? What do you got there? What is that thing? Is that TJ has the thing? Yeah, it is you has the thing. What's the thing? I'm looking at the thing and trying to figure out what you got there.
It's just a roll of Scotch tape. It's a defective product market.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, I gotta do something here. I gotta change over. I gotta cut my speakers off. Hopefully that wasn't echoing to you.
I could go to headphones.
Cause
Yeah.
Play back.
Yeah, I got
I
headphones.
gotta change that off and go to showing up.
I hope it works this
There it is.
time.
Okay, I disabled
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
speakers,
Am I live?
so I'm still playing with this thing.
Really
Trying to
freaking
get
loud.
set right. For some reason, now I gotta go to my headphones. There we go. Now I can hear you clangering around. Clangering around.
Good. Good.
Yeah, I turned the speakers off because I know that echoes sometimes back when I'm talking and stuff. It's picked up by the microphone. I don't have a headset right now. I'm using earphones and the camera's microphone. So if I was feeding back or something, I didn't know it.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, but I was looking at these videos today. I've been really bogged out by them because half of them I already knew. The other half I thought they were extraterrestrials. And now I'm rethinking. I'm actually rethinking. They're not really extraterrestrials. Maybe they are interterrestrials, interdimensional. They're not from out there. They've been here all the time. And it's like the old fairy stories of fairy tales and everything. And we just didn't recognize them as what they were. They took the form when we had that thinking. I could probably still go out to the woods, have some of these things come up to me, and they look like fairies, or look like dwarves, or look like whatever. And I'd see them like that because of my thinking. Otherwise, they'd just be orbs, little glowing balls of light. They take on the forms in our minds. I was saying earlier, our mind's inside of a dark box, and the only thing we're able to perceive the outside world with is eyes, touch, smell, taste, the five senses out there. And that sixth sense of knowing they're there.
Well, I've studied this UFO and alien abduction, and actually, I had like a 3-month study in cattle mutilation research, everything I could find, and actually found, to my amazement, about 40 miles from here, there was a cattle mutilation. Yes, and that blew my mind too. So I printed it up and saved it somewhere. But let's go over this again. I came to the conclusion that since there was no viable evidence, and since the average detective and investigator, whether government, state, or federal, would be of average and normal intelligence with the average and normal equipment they normally run in their job and recording devices to record their findings, and since every case I investigated, it came back strangely, zero evidence, 0, 0, 0, 0. And since we're taught that there's no such thing as a perfect crime, by golly, it has to be aliens, man. Just has to be.
Well, you think you would think it's aliens, but maybe it's, they do come down because they appear. I mean, this one guy went out to south of Phoenix in the South Mountains and was showing that all the animals were looking at a certain direction up in the sky, even though the men were there doing whatever, and they had actually swirls and stuff like that. They were recording like a recorder, like a tape, like a VCR or something. They were recording all this stuff on a camera, and they were writing it down, drawing it on the rocks, what they saw in the sky. At the time they saw it, they just start look up there and see this thing floating in the sky. It has, two triangles together, shaped ships, and they were recording all this stuff. But they seemed he was saying that the Indians knew that they came from portals in the sky. There are portals, and there's portals in the ground. They come up out of the ground. This one Indian tribe said they moved out there, didn't know how to live in a desert-like environment, and these sand people came up out of the sand, and they looked like humans, and they taught them everything they needed to know to survive. And I'm like, going, wow, that's pretty wild. That's Indian mythology, I guess, but they were recording that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of truth in a lot of those mythologies too.
Mm-hmm.
So I've investigated, and lately, I mean, the stuff I find out, I mean, if I try to talk about it, people are going to look at me like I'm insane. I go, yes, there are alien bases on the moon. What do you mean alien bases? There are other races of beings that have colonized the moon at times in the past and that have now long been abandoned.
Yeah, structures.
You must be crazy. No, we have photographs of it.
Yeah, of structures on the moon that can't be explained, that look like bases, old bases and old dishes and stuff. And I'm like, wow.
So, it's scary.
Yeah.
It's a little scary.
Yeah, I've just watched these videos today, documentaries, and I'm convinced that I can go out there tonight with my video camera and catch these things out in my yard. I mean, they're out there. They're all over the place, but they're just out of our range of sight, and they're out there living with us on the same plane, but they're just out of our sight. I mean, this guy was pretty, he was really right there.
What about that thing you had on your previous video where you had that strange thing that appeared out in your yard? It was about 3 foot long, like a yardstick.
Yeah.
Whatever became of that thing?
I don't know.
You never gave an explanation of what. I mean, I saw the picture and video. You go, yeah, here it is. But you never told me how fast it went away and like if it was real or not, or if he copied it or stole it from somebody or what. I never knew what happened. I didn't get a good
That
communication
was a.
from you.
I just took the picture of these deers across the street, a neighbor's yard, and that showed up in the picture. I have no idea. That's one of those things like these guys were talking about. I mean, that was in daylight. It wasn't at night where they're showing these shadows under light from houses and stuff, making them move and dimensionally they're changing in and out of a dimension. I just happened to catch it when it was in full dimension, I guess. I really don't know.
Would you do me a big favor and find that right now on your files on your on your on your uh, on your system and post that on a screen share? I want to go over and relive that moment and discuss it with you one last time. I just want to review it because it was so mind-blowing. I almost shied away from thinking about it. I want to go revisit that. Do you have it handy? Oh, you
Ah,
do.
hang on a second. I'm working on it. Oh, I just did something strange. Stop. Uh, Ann, the one Ann.
What's up,
Ann,
man?
what's up?
I saw that documentary.
Yes.
I saw that documentary you were talking about with the orbs.
Yeah, it kind of blew me away. They started out with this guy who was taking pictures of UFOs in the sky, and he suddenly, in the same picture, there was an image that was up against the wall of the house where the light was, and it was changing form, and it was he took it frame by frame off the video, and it was actually phasing in and out and having a different facial expression from a demon face to a human face to, I mean, it just went back and forth like that, and I went, wow. It blew me away.
I've bought antiques before and brought orbs in the house.
Yeah, they actually said at the end of it, it says these orbs are everywhere. All you have to do is have the right proper equipment to pick them up, and they're around you. They're all around you. I mean, it's kind of makes that paranoia, but you're kind of going. And I've seen stuff out of the corner of my eye, a light go flashing by up into the ceiling and stuff, or come down and loop up. And I've seen this stuff. I saw something by the window where I caught a corner of my eye, and I turned my head, and there was a slow glowing, like it had tentacles and everything out of this orb, and it was climbing up the wall and then went away. I mean, I've caught this stuff. It's there. They're real. I mean, this wasn't my cat. I use my cat as a detective because my cat will do stuff that's weird looking. It would start looking at a certain area. And
Oh yeah, cats are bad about that.
and I'm able to sit there and look at it, and I'm going, what is that? Okay, let's see if I can find that picture. Should be in my picture.
Kitty.
Yeah. There it is, right there.
Oliver.
I don't know how to bring it. I don't know how to bring that up on here. Wait a second. How do I get this picture to bring up? I can go full picture. Hang on a second. I can probably do it. I gotta close some windows up here and open up the one that has my fire dog or fire wolf on it. Go to that. Go to this. Let's click on one of them, and it would do that little dimensional warp. Okay, and then try to figure out how to bring that up. It's not working like it used to do. So I'm having a. Can you see it now?
Oh my Lord Almighty!
You can see
Wow.
that, right? You can see this thing on
Yeah.
the right side with this little banner. It looks like a wolf head on it, and I don't know what else. I'm sitting there looking at it, and I got up here. I don't know if it's sharing it because I can't tell if I'm sharing it. Uh,
Yes, you are.
Yeah, we can see
Yes,
it.
you are.
what
Now,
is that? It's a red cat glowing with eyes looking right at me, and then there's this thing on its back. You can see its hand right around where it says 13. And I mean, I'm just boggled by this. I didn't see it when I took the picture. That was the whole thing. I walked out to the mailbox, and the mailbox is only about 10 feet away from where it was. I mean, it really blows me away. I mean, I can look at that, and the video. Oh hell, I can actually zoom in on it. Is that zooming in for you too?
oh my Lord Almighty, thank you so much, my friend.
I
Now
have.
tell me, to me, let me explain it because I have a lot of industrial engineering type of work. I'm
It
looking
wasn't.
at it, and now the closer I look at it, I want to say machine, okay, because the bottom, it's too geometric to be designed by, have any nature biological bubble burst, so to speak. But the thing is, suddenly I'm drawn to the top of this antler-like, horn-like device that almost looks like it has fur on it,
I'm
and it
telling
has
you,
a
it looks
little
like a wolf head.
curvature.
Yeah, I'm looking at
Yeah.
that too, and I'm like going, I did not see that when I was looking out there when I took the picture, and I walked up to the mailbox, and that would have been the center of my picture if I saw that. That would have been my center of the picture.
Do
As
you know what
soon
it
as
reminds me of, dude? Seriously, I was watching the Night Gallery the other night because I like to watch old shows like that. You remember the one with the African doll that had the chain on it? It said, "Don't remove chain."
oh yeah, oh, that blows me away. I
That's
mean,
what it reminds me of, man. It's that African doll when you took the chain off of it. Now it's like running loose in the front yard.
I have no idea. Like I said, I'm looking at these deers, and there's one in between the trees, and that's what I focused on almost. You saw I'm basically almost focused between those trees. And this thing, I mean, I walked out. Actually, I saw it when I walked out to the post box, and it was, on the camera, it's like a little tiny picture. I'll look at that later. It was 6 months later before I went back to that and looked at it. I mean, I was that wiped by it. I couldn't believe I was seeing something in my frame that wasn't there. That just blows me away. I can blow it up, bring it over. There it is. What the hell is that? I don't know. I caught phenomenal, and I'm like, and it's a cat. It's a cat with something on its back. I mean, really. I mean, you look at that, and I'm just going, and that was on the 18th of 2013 of January, and I'm like, what am I catching on the film? What is that? And this is a 12 megapixel camera. So that's 12 megapixels I'm looking at. And that's why I can kind of zoom in on it a little more and bring it over and
I'm
look at it
telling you,
like
dude,
that.
it's that doll that's got a weed eater that's running around the yard going, "Yah, yah, 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 yah,
It does kind of look like a weed eater.
It was invisible. And I can look at this cat red image, and it's looking right at me. It sees me. It actually knows I'm there. When I took the picture, it knew I was there. And I'm kind of going, I don't know. I mean, I can zoom in maybe a little more. Yeah, I can zoom in more, but the 12 megapixels starts to fall apart a little bit.
Looks like a voodoo doll with a weed eater.
Yeah, but you see the hand on there, right? The hand, the little white part that's on the cat, and it's riding its back. I mean, it's just what I got the impression of it's riding on the back of this cat. This red, whatever it is, cat.
Okay, it's the ghost of Carmen Miranda with a skirt on, riding a cat with a weed eater, going, ay, 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 ay.
Ay, 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 with those jerk teeth. Ay, 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 ay. But that just blew me away. Oh, I can't go any bigger. It won't let me go any bigger. That's it. It's as close as I can get to it. And it looks like it has a hat on it with a silver buckle by where the stick
Spellbinder.
goes.
Spellbinder.
Yeah.
You're not going to believe me now. I know you're not. I've seen that son of a bitch before. I'm telling you right now. I've seen an image of that. Somebody captured a snapshot of that same effing thing, man.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to find it and get it back to you, man.
oh, you have to, because I am just freaked
Oh,
out by it.
man.
I mean, it's just, I mean, I'm looking at this thing here on the head. What is that? What is that on the top of the T of the banner? It's kind of like I call it a banner because it's kind of like its little staff it walks with, and I'm very amazed. I'm absolutely lost to
Oh, my
explanation
God.
to it. I mean, I'm looking at it like a wolf head or something, and it mounted it on there, so it was part of its whatever it is.
It looks like a bat on a stick.
Yeah. Yes, it does. Strange. Very strange.
I've just never come across that in my life. This is the first time I actually caught something that wasn't kind of ghostly like and see through it, but it actually looks like it's there. And that was the first time, like the deers in the background. It looks as real as the deers in the background. And I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still here. It's walking across the yard, going down the hill. I have no idea where it's going or what its activity was. I'm at loss.
You know, I have heard a strange report of a UFO that looked, I'm not sure if it was like stalks of, the UFO being was described as like stalks of celery or something like that. That's what that top thing reminds me of, like maybe a, yeah, there was some real slender vegetable looking beings, like, yeah, I think it was celery or something.
I'm just looking at it going, I have no idea what I'm looking at. I really have no idea because it wasn't there. I swear to God, it wasn't there. I'll swear on the Bible, I'll go to court, whatever, and say, I didn't see that when I took the picture. It wasn't in the picture when I took it. But yet the camera
Is it
caught it.
casting? Is it casting a shadow?
Well, I don't think it can because I think this was and I think it was evening. Right there's where the sun's going down up here at the top to the left,
Okay.
and it didn't have a shadow cast to it. That's what I also saw. I mean, I'm looking at the entire picture here. Wow, I just blown away. Boop, 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 boop. Anyway, stop. Okay.
Yeah. Love it.
It's phenomenal. I tell you what, that's when I saw this video today where they were catching this stuff at night. It was just like, wow, I caught something like that, and it was still daylight. It was at evening or whatever, twilight, and I caught that when I went out there. 'Cause I opened the door up in the front door of the house, and we're starting out, and I got out there and I saw those deers across the way. I'm going, wow, I don't get to see that too often. Took a picture, and there you go. That's what I had. And I'm like,
Can you grant me permission to use that photograph for my own use non-commercially? I'd like to enhance that being. I'd like to blow it up in Photoshop, enhance it, colorize it, magnify it, you know, twist it around, whatever, and see if I can, you know, decipher any more meaning out of it, okay? And I'm not going to sell it or anything, of course.
okay, well, you have to give me an email address, and I'll send it to you.
No, I've already got it screen captured. Don't worry, that's all I need.
Oh, okay. I was just saying, if you need the actual
Oh, no.
image, the actual 4,288 by 3,216 dimensions, I can give that to you.
Okay.
Like I said, it was a 12 megapixel camera shot, so that's why I was able to zoom into it so big.
All right.
And bring in. Yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you want with it. I just know that I took it. I just want it to be known, because especially after today watching these documentaries that I was watching, and it kind of informed me that, yeah, you shouldn't be thinking about extraterrestrials in the way you do as physical beings, because, yeah, they can come to you interdimensionally and become physical in our three-dimensional world. They can actually appear before you, similar to Dee and the rest of the great wizards out there that conjured up their spirits or whatever. And they can actually appear before you and look as real as you're looking at a bottle of peppermint oil.
Yeah, you just got to be careful doing that, man.
Oh yeah, now I understand it. You know, I'm thinking extraterrestrials. Now I'm thinking interdimensional, because these other guys' research, and they took these. I mean, they actually took these frames of the video and did one by one, and you could see these big eyes on this one picture, and it looked, you know, and they were moving around from each frame to each frame of the video, and looking around, and he had something on his left side that was like a box or something, and it was looking around. It was actually scanning the area and everything. And I'm just like, wow. Now I'm really freaked out, because maybe they're not metallic or material. Maybe UFOs actually are some type of spiritual energy, and they just take the form of whatever they can in our dimension. I mean, it really blows me away. It blows me away after seeing those. I'm still just sitting back just going, wow. I mean, they caught stuff that I caught something that was a lot clearer, but they caught stuff that you could tell with the light and the shadow, this thing was moving around and stuff, going in and out of dimension. And this guy did this documentary. He went down there and he wanted to see it for himself. He said, you know, I don't fly from Oregon down here very often, down to New Orleans. And he came down there to investigate. And after he saw that, and then the guy took him out and said, okay, I'll take you out and show you this stuff. And all you have to do is be able to recognize it. And you'll never see the picture the same way when you recognize it. He took him out. He took pictures with his own camera that he had, and took pictures around this site. And then they went and developed the pictures on the computer and brought them up, from digital computer pictures. And once it was pointed out to him, he was looking at it and looking at it. And because this guy has the program to cut every frame out of the video and say, okay, you got this frame here, now this is the next frame, this is the next frame. And it was a program that he was familiar with, but I didn't know he could do that with it. And he was just like jaw dropped. It was like, whoa, that is amazing. I did not know this. Later on in the documentary, he was in his own place in Oregon, and this guy that was an orb person, I mean, he had like several people. He brought this guy up who was a person who records orbs with infrared, like, night scope cameras. And he brought him up there to his property up in Oregon, and they were catching these orbs way out in the background. They're like, stars that were blinking, big burst of light and stuff. And these other ones were flying around in front of him. One came up towards the camera because he's using this 2,000 lumini candle infrared, basically like a, what do you call them, like a searchlight. It was an infrared searchlight, so it enhanced the camera. And this one thing came up and stopped right in front of the camera. It was an orb, a perfect circle. It kind of pulsed a few times, and then it took off and went its own way. But these other ones were still in the background, just pulsing in the background, not moving. And he says, yeah, they're kind of attracted to the infrared light because for some reason they're able to see the infrared, and they come in curiously to see what the infrared is, where that source is coming from, because they're able to see infrared. And he would show this thing shining out in the background, and you couldn't see nothing. I mean, it was infrared, basically out of our visions, our level of vision. And he was able to see it only in the camera, that this thing was like a searchlight. He could go across the trees and stuff and the infrared camera and actually see the trees and everything when he was passing it back and forth, just like you have a 2 million whatever light, visible light, one of those that you take out and you go out and look for deer or whatever. It shoots a beam out there and it lights up the field, 200 yards away and stuff. You can see everything. That's what this thing was doing, but it was infrared. And only in the infrared camera could you see it. He was holding the infrared, the light in the infrared camera, and he was going up in the sky. And he says, yeah, I can go up higher. And he turns his head up, and you're seeing these little pulsating lights that were sitting there, and then some of them start moving. And he says, yeah, see, even in your own backyard here in Oregon, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. They may even be in your house, these orbs and stuff flying around and stuff, and you just don't recognize them because you don't have the visual acuity to see these things. And I went, wow. I have seen them with, at the corner of my eye, I see a light take across. And there would be a little glowing ball of light. It would be almost, it would almost be like it'd have tentacles like or something. And it would zoom across and go up into the ceiling. And I'd look up to see it, and it was gone already. It went up in the ceiling. So, yeah, I agree. We have these things all around us. They're just living in a different spectrum of light, and they coexist with us here on planet Earth. There. Like I said,
do you remember the researcher's name that was in on all that nuclear testing in the 40s when they were developing the nuclear bombs? I cannot remember his name. but they were talking. He was out there at Groom Lake when they were all testing nuclear bombs and stuff out there, and they were talking about, I cannot remember his name, but he was into the occult real heavy too. I want to say it was Robert something, but I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. But anyway,
There's JPL, Jack Propulsion Laboratories, or Jack, what's his name? He was involved in that. That's where they got JPL. It's not Jet Propulsion Laboratories, as they told everyone. It was actually Jack Propulsion Laboratories, because he was in the occult. He worked with Aleister Crowley. He was actually paying Aleister Crowley and keeping him alive, basically. And he did the Moonchild experiment.
well, it was rumored. I mean, he had written articles about when they were out there, and the bombs got bigger and bigger. And if you watch some of the footage, there's some really weird stuff when you watch those bombs go off. But they were talking about, as the bombs got bigger, and then they went hydrogen, and they just were just experimenting with all kinds of weird stuff. And they claimed that they were bringing stuff out from other dimensions, and that's part of the reason why they quit doing it, because not only was it just the radiation was just getting so overwhelming, but that some of the things that they were bringing out when they were doing that testing,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
maybe that's why we have so much phenomenon now that has never been recorded before.
Because they opened it up out there. Yeah, there's a rumor that that's what the Montauk Project was up in Long Island. When they did the Montauk Project, they actually ripped a 40-year hyperspace bubble open that opened us up for all these aliens to come in. Call them aliens if you want to. Call them whatever. But they opened this hole up, and they were allowed to come in. Before then, we were kind of self-protective. We were protected from their influence and everything. And that's when everything started to get kind of weird and science and everything.
I mean, who's to say that wasn't Pandora's box,
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I mean, we basically went from the Stone Age to going to the moon in less than 100 years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was a guy named Jerome Crusoe, I guess his name was, or Joseph Crusoe, who was a lieutenant colonel, and he was introduced to this alien technology they said they got from a spaceship from 1947 at Roswell. And it was called The Day After Roswell was the name of the book. And Jerome said that he was taken into the general's office, and the general opened up a file cabinet. He pulled out this board and handed it to him and said, "Take a look at this." And he looked at it and he said, "It looks like squash bugs on this board." Now, if you look at a modern day computer board, it looks like squash bugs on a board. It's called microchips. And he said, "I want you to find companies out there that can back engineer this stuff. We want to back engineer all this stuff that we got off the Roswell crash." And he actually pulled out this thing. It looked like a laser pointer. He actually mentions it in the book. And he said that, but this thing had actually cut through steel and stuff. I mean, it was not just a laser pointer. It actually cut through stuff and cauterized it. Similar to the animal mutilations. No, the animal mutilations, they always say that all the wounds on this carcass of cows and stuff looked like it was cauterized. It was burnt so it wouldn't bleed. And organs removed and everything, like a surgical scalpel that was a laser. And he said he saw that. And then the general pulled out these this box, and he opened it up and had these two lenses that were bigger than our natural eyes, almost like sunglass lenses that are bigger than our eyes normally. He says, I'm going to turn the lights out and close the shutters and tell me what you see. And he held them up, and you could see everything in the room as if it was lit up by ambient light.
Jack
And
Parsons.
yeah,
Jack
yeah,
Parsons.
yeah,
That's what his name was.
that's it, Jack Parsons. He did the Moonchild experiment, where they were going to have a virgin birth again, and they could create it through occultism to bring about a virgin birth. And they could do it because the female actually has the capability to converting some of her cells into sperm and actually self-impregnate herself. And it was called the Moonchild Project. That came out of the Montauk Project, and it was part of that back in the 40s and 50s. And apparently he was successful. Aleister Crowley didn't get involved in it, and he was upset about it because that was his project, basically, that Jack Parsons completed. He actually completed the project, and Jack Parsons completed it. And all types of weird stuff started happening after that. So it's more phenomenal stuff happening.
Well, whatever Jack Parsons' last experiment was, whatever he was doing, whatever he unleashed, it ripped him apart. They said he was scattered all over his house.
Well, yeah, the firemen said there was a gas explosion and he was killed in it. So whatever he was doing, it was worse than what Aleister Crowley did when he had summoned Chromazon, a demon. He summoned it up because he wanted the power of this demon. He had an assistant there, and he almost killed his assistant when he got that power because it was a possession, basically. It just about killed him. And ever since then, after that happened in the late 40s, Aleister Crowley wasn't the same. He actually started degrading from his teachings, and everything started falling apart.
Well, if ever you could say somebody maybe went too far, that was Aleister Crowley, because he did a lot of stuff just to shock people,
Oh
but he
yeah,
got too wrapped up in it. I mean, there at the end of his life, he was into some crazy shit.
oh yeah. He totally lost it after that. It was a downhill slide after that. I mean, he was the greatest magician before that ever was existing. I mean, if you read some of his earlier books, they're brilliant. They're actually brilliant writings. But after he did that ceremony and tried to gain that power from a demon and harness it for himself, he went downhill because I guess the demon got the better part of him. And
Well, a lot of the people
let
that
him
he
down.
worked with that trusted him, he did some really fucked up stuff to him. I mean, that one guy that was following him around for a while, he got him all high on drugs and just really humiliated him. I mean, he was into that. He liked humiliating people.
He did. He actually did have that type of thing. I mean, one guy, he actually killed him by accident because they did a ceremony where they drank cat's blood. They sacrificed the cat, gave him the goblet, and he drank it, and he got some type of disease from the cat, and it killed him. It just put
Yep.
him down.
And then his wife sued him and took everything he had.
Yeah, that was part of it. She was the one that actually supposedly inscripted the book, the law, the book of law, and they went on their honeymoon inside the Great Pyramid. And when they left the Great Pyramid, she went back to their apartment in Cairo, and she started mumbling the stuff out. And he was writing it down. It was called the Book of Law, and that's where he got the Book of Law. And she actually took him to the Cairo Museum, took him to the display of who was it? Osiris or something, and it had the number 666 for that display number. And that's where he started off on the 666 stuff and saying that, I am the beast then. I must be the beast. And he went from there. That was part of his downfall right there, is going off with that. But the book of man, basically the book of law.
Could you imagine going to the Great Pyramid of Giza with Aleister Crowley and spending the weekend in that pyramid with him doing his chantings?
Oh yeah, and having sex and everything else they did.
Good
He was a very
Lord.
perverted person. Oh, he was highly perverted. He had a mistress called the Scarlet Lady, and he hanged out with the Scarlet Lady. That was his mistress, and he called her the Scarlet Lady. I mean, you kind of go along with that, and you're going, okay, this guy was in all types of kinky stuff.
Well, she was a prostitute anyway. I mean, she was some prostitute he picked up, and yeah, she was a Scarlet Lady, all right.
Oh yeah, put the S, put the A on her chest.
Oh, ay, 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 ay.
A movie that really gets me is one called Simon, King of the Witches. That movie came out in '78, and it blew me away because he's supposedly like a dark magician, and he really wasn't that dark, but his life wasn't perfect. So he's invited over to this lady's house who is a Wiccan, and they have a goat and everything, and he's sitting there going, and he's sitting there going, he's kind of leaning on a broomstick. He ends up leaving. That was a weird movie. It was it's called Simon, King of the Witches. You can find that on well, it's not Hulu. Where is it on? It was on one of the channels of scary movies on Roku. And actually, they got that movie on there. I was saying, man, nobody knows about this movie. I seen it on cable back in the '80s, and it was a '70s movie. And I was like going, I'm impressed with with this movie. Just even though it was like a B-rated movie, it was all right though. It was pretty interesting if you're into occult and stuff, and you're trying to relate what they're saying and everything. And it's like, they're kind of on the trail of what was going on. And yeah, it was called Simon, King of the Witches. Yeah, if you ever have a chance to see it, it's a worthwhile movie to watch one time. It's one of those where you don't know what's going to happen and everything, and it's pretty good. Yeah, I enjoy it. I actually found a copy of it and downloaded it, and then I found out it was on a channel on Roku, and I went, oh, I watched it again. I go, yeah, I was kind of impressed with it. It was basically about Wiccanism and Wicca and everything, and ceremonial magic users. It had its little debate there. It was done in the '70s, so it went back that far. It's pretty interesting. Never get a chance to see it, find it. Simon, King of the Witches. Yeah, you can probably even Google it and see that there's, a mention of it on the movie listings. And it was different. It was different. It was a cult classic in its own way. It's kind of like, what was the movie? Brain Damage. I don't know if anyone's ever seen Brain Damage. That was another cult classic. That was really a cult classic in itself. It's about this worm. It's like a slug, actually, and it gets on the back of your head, and it pumps this hallucinogenic drugs in it, so you'll go out and kill people and feed it, take him to them so he can suck their brain fluids out, and it's a classic. I call it classic, like a midnight movie, basically. I've seen a lot of midnight movies, and some of them are pretty good because they're basically, what do you call them, like not like movies. They're kind of like the ones you go to when you go to a movie festival and stuff and see. I can't think of the name of that. What do you call the movies you go to when they're, you go out to a festival and they got all these new movies out there that didn't quite make it to the main theaters, or like, you call them maybe, what I call them, kitchen sink movies.
You're talking like Grindhouse and shit.
Well, this isn't Grindhouse. It's like the ones that, what do they call the ones when you go to the festivals? They call it festivals part of it, and they have these movies that come out.
You ever seen anything from Kenneth Anger?
Oh yeah, I saw a couple of his movies. That was pretty trippy. This is so, and how he surrealed everything. Yeah, he was a good surrealist. He could make movies that were surreal with all these dancing and everything. And I mean, it was like sacrificial. And yeah, I saw a couple of Angry's movies. Actually,
Yeah, Kenneth Anger was a strange guy.
oh, he was Aleister Crowley's buddy too. He hanged around with Aleister Crowley. So did Spear.
No, he hung out with Anton LaVey. Kenneth
Well,
Anger. Yeah, Kenneth Anger was in with Anton LaVey.
I thought he was also associated before Aleister Crowley died, that in 1958, that he knew him in 1958. And
Wasn't Aleister Crowley dead by then?
he died in 1958, 1959, somewhere right there before 1960s. Crowley died, old age. That's why JPL knew him, or Jack Paulson's Laboratory. I mean, because Jack Paulson was in his 20s or 30s or something, but he was a rocket genius. He was able to. And he knew Aleister Crowley and was paying his rent and everything. I mean, it was Crowley's last supporter was Jack Parson. And Kenneth was also known to him, and Kenneth knew of him. And I don't know if he ever met him or associated with him, but like you said, he hanged out with the Satanic Church and stuff, and had some weird stuff going on there. Did some movies, and I've seen some of the movies, and they're just bizarre, absolutely off the wall bizarre movies. You too can watch this and be freaked out.
Well, what's weird is a lot of the movies they made in the mid to late 60s on into the 70s, you couldn't make them now. There's no way. They'd be picketing them, and I mean, shit, they picket
They picket
restaurants.
Dark Shadows.
Yeah.
Well, they did Dark Shadows, and when they tried to bring Dark Shadows out in the 80s or 90s and bring it back, there was a bunch of people out there picketing. No, we can't have Dark Shadows come back with the new Barnabas Collins. I was like, man, that was a soap opera back then. It was actually a monster soap opera, is what it was. Is what Dark Shadows was.
Well, it amazes me how progressive it was back in the 60s and 70s. I mean, like I say, you couldn't make the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre now. Or The Exorcist. I mean, the movie The Exorcist really just floors me what they got away with.
Oh yeah, that, and like you said, the Hills Have Eyes. That was probably the last film they were able to get away with stuff. Was The Hill Has Eyes. That was really gruesome. I mean,
See, I can't stand horror movies nowadays because it's all just about the blood and the special effects. There's no, excuse me, psychological mind fuck to it anymore. You know, that's what made it good, like Rosemary's Baby and, you know, the original Psycho. You know, you didn't have to have a lot of blood and guts. It was just the psychological part of it that made it so good. Alfred Hitchcock, you know.
oh yeah, Alfred Hitchcock was a trip. He does cameos, you know, in his films that he does. He'll show up in films as a cameo. Well, Stan Lee's now doing that in the Marvel comics. He'll show up in every movie you will see Stan Lee as a character in the movie. Like
Yeah.
in Iron Man 3 and stuff, he's sitting there getting his shoes polished or something, and he'll walk into it. Yeah, and that's where cameos came from. Was I think Alfred Hitchcock? He started the whole thing of cameos, where the guy who wrote this stuff would appear in there. I mean, even Stephen King does cameos. That blew me away too. He was the first one to do it before Stan Lee did. Stan Lee started doing it in all these new shows and stuff that they got on TV, like Shield and everything. He made a cameo in the first episodes and stuff.
I don't know. Everybody's so touchy and so worried about offending someone. You know, you have to watch what you say. And, you know, even when they make movies, I mean, it's okay to show just graphic blood and guts and gore, but, you know, as far as the psychological part of it, there's some things you just can't do that you did back then.
That's true. I mean, you have people like one that did, oh, what was it? Dust to Dawn. He was in a documentary where he was talking about that, and said, you know, he said that we just went from the blood and gore to doing something like Scary Movie, and that's all you get today. You get Scary Movie 1, 2, 3, and 4, or whatever, you know, where it's a comedy basically.
Or the last, I know, 6 or 7 horror movies I've seen in the last year has all been like Blair Witch Project, and I hate that movie. That is the dumbest movie. It's fucking stupid.
That was actually a kitchen sink movie. It was done for under what, $2,000, and they made $2 million off of it. I mean, that was one of those.
Okay, I'm gonna get camera. Oh, what was that? You know, it's the same shit. It's the same campy camera angles, and you know, no plot, and it's boring.
Yeah, like Paranormal Activity, Paranormal Activity is what it was, and that was all done with, you know, camcords. You remember those movies? The first one wasn't too bad, and then they had the second one and the third one, you know, and then you just got bored of it.
And I'm tired of all these horror movies with them sticking things in people's eyeballs. I can't stand that crap. You want to get to me, stick something in somebody's eyeball. I'm just like, no, no more eyeball shit. Okay, I can't handle it. They always got to be stabbed in the eyeball or, you know, ew.
Oh, yeah.
How about a plot? Can we have a plot, please? A workable, believable plot. We have so lost that.
Yeah. I mean, it started to get bad with the Jason movies and Freddy Krueger. Nightmare on Elm Street. They started out great, and then they just degraded when they had, you know, part 2, 3, 4, 5. It started going downhill with the Freddy Kruegers even.
Yeah, it just got ridiculous after a while. Jason Takes Manhattan and Jason versus Freddy. Fuck off. Really, seriously.
They were comedies. They were basically like Scary Movie. They were basically getting to that point. And I watched this thing, and they're saying, yeah, we brought them back a few times of these, you know, slash and hack movies, and we got to a point where we just had to make comedy out of it. And they actually said they had to do that because they weren't getting the audience, and so they took a different gender to these movies and went off in the comedy section.
And I'll tell you something else I'm tired of. I cannot watch Gilligan's Island. I hate that show. I used to watch it when I was a kid. But the concept of the 30, 40-year-old man who's a complete fucking idiot and acts like a kid. And now every commercial, the man is portrayed as a big, dumb idiot. And the woman is overbearing and just so feminist, it just drives you insane. You know, the men are stupid and the wife or whatever is the mother character, and I am so tired of that.
Oh, they changed everything. They really did. They actually rewrote Hollywood. And I haven't seen a good movie, except maybe the, where was it? The Interview with a Vampire. Now, that was kind of okay. The Interview with a Vampire.
The book was better.
Yeah, the book was better, but it basically, it covered a better thing, I thought, as far as a plot and everything. I mean, I kind of like all the Marvel stuff they're coming out with, because Marvel is actually bringing comic books to life. They're actually taking a comic book, you know, like Agent Carter is the newest one they got out, and that's not too bad.
Well, even now, I'm tired of comic book movies. I'm getting tired of it because there'll be 6 comic book movies and 1 Denzel Washington movie, and that one's actually good. And I don't care for Denzel Washington that much, but he's kind of grown on me.
A lot of characters. When I started seeing, the guy starred in Red. Now, Red was pretty good. Retired, Extremely Dangerous. That was a fun movie. And there's movies out there I call fun movies. Or they're kind of fun to watch.
Now,
And,
that last Godzilla movie they made was absolutely horrible. It pissed me off so bad. The Godzilla one they made in 1998 was better than that one.
Oh, yeah, I know. And they just turned around and just started getting cheesy with it. And I went, that's just cheesy. It's not even... I mean, there's a lot of movies like that they came out with. But then there's a lot of movies I actually enjoyed. I mean, there was a lot of fun movies. Guardian of the Universe. I actually kind of liked that one. It was a fun movie. You went through it. And it was fun. There's fun movies, and then there's this like, I think Gilbert and what's his name gave thumbs down to them. The other ones out there.
I can't watch any movies like that. They're just not funny to me. They piss me off. I'm like, do people really find this funny? Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Like I said, I like comical movies that are out there. I like certain series, like Supernatural. I like the Winchesters. They're fun to watch. Is the Winchesters in their series. It's a series, TV show. The Winchesters, Grimm. Now, Grimm I actually like. Grimm is getting interesting. They brought the one police officer in, and now he's part of the group. And I saw that coming. I think, or he had this experience with something he was personally knew about as far as the Wessons. And now they're bringing him in. He's going to be a help on the show. So I kind of like Grimm. Grimm's one of my kind of favorite shows. I like Constantine is interesting.
Yeah, it's I like it, but I don't.
Yeah, but yeah, you have to adapt to the character of Constantine. What he's under. He's under his pressure. He knows he's going to hell. He has his dark angel that keeps coming and helping him, and he's like, he's still screwed at the end, it seems.
But I think they've kind of lost the magic of the movie. And what's weird about it is I love Keanu Reeves, but he is such a horrible actor. He really is. He's gotten better over the years, but he's terrible. He really is. But he's in the coolest movies. That's what kills me. But in the movie Constantine, there was more of an emphasis on, we really don't have a free will. There's all these rules, and the angels that are supposed to be good really aren't. They hate us too. They're fucked up. It's kind of like the movie Legion. Did you see Legion?
I haven't seen Legion yet, but I have seen Prophecies. I've seen the
Legion
Prophecy movie.
Legion's kind of like Prophecy. It's like the angels really are not. They're not on our side. They don't like us. Some of them kind of, they take up for us because they feel sorry for us, kind of type thing. And then there's the other ones that are just like, you know what, I fuck the humans. We were the favorites until you came along, and I'm not worshiping you. God told me I'm supposed to put you above us, and I'm just not going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
That concept makes more sense to me than, oh, there's these angels and they're just supposed to love us no matter what. No, they don't. If they really did exist, they're like our nannies or something. God creates us, puts us above angels, and then the angels are supposed to walk around and wipe our ass and move us out of the way of traffic. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see that. That's the concept they have behind it. Yeah.
That's why I kind of got into Constantine, because it's like you've got the Archangel Michael, who really fucking hates our guts, and is kind of in with Satan, but then kind of not really, and is kind of on their own side.
Yeah.
That makes more sense to me.
Have you seen the series?
Yeah.
On CW? Yeah. That I kind of go along with. I kind of got into Constantine and his problems there, and then. Or ones are their, I don't know, they're Shield, but that's a Marvel thing. And well, let's see, what other ones? Supernatural. Like I said, Supernatural. I kind of feel sorry for the older brother, and he has the mark of Cain on him, and he's trying to get that off of him because he went and took the mark of Cain away from Cain, and Cain's free now. And he's like, oh, thanks, basically.
Now, I'll tell you something about The Walking Dead. I've been watching The Walking Dead since it came out, and I like The Walking Dead, but I like this last season the best because you're getting back into the more of everything is just completely breaking down, and I think it's getting a little more realistic now than it ever has been. You can't really trust anybody because at any second you could fucking die,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've gotten into the nitty-gritty part of you can't get a full night's sleep, nowhere is safe, the people that you thought you could trust, they're just not, it's every man for himself type thing. It's really breaking down into more of a realistic scenario of what it would really be like. The Strain is going to be like that this summer. Have you seen The Strain? That shows a trip.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's starting to change a lot.
Well, and see, that's the problem I have a lot with a lot of these conspiracy theorists that talk about, they're so gung-ho wanting this total economic collapse crap to happen. No, you don't. You do not want that to happen, because if and when it does happen, it will never be the way it is now. We will never again know the time period again that we're in right now. You're going to go from the way it is now to total economic collapse where your neighbors are trying to fucking kill you to get a can of beans, and you want that? I don't understand that. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to have to go and steal gas and fend off people and fight for my life. And no, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to go through a total solar storm that's going to wipe the whole total grid out forever, as far as I'm concerned. Oh, we'll have it back up in 40 years. Well, I'm going to be 46 in a month, okay?
Exactly.
I'm going to be an old bitch out there in a walker in 25, 30 years, and I'm going to be wanting to fight people over a can of beans. No, all they'd have to do is slip my wheelchair tires and push me over a cliff. How the fuck am I going to fight roving bands of 20-year-olds? Come on. I mean, think
Oh,
about it. In 30 years, we're going to be fucking old.
I know. I
What are
know.
we going to be like the senior citizens brigade? Come on.
Exactly. Yeah, they're those are. I always look at everything they're putting out there on the Orwellian tube, I call it, the TV and movie theaters. These are scenarios. We're going to see which one works best for the one percenters, and the one percenters are going to be over here living like kings and stuff, prancing around with crowns and robes and have us grovel at their feet. And on the other end, I mean, oh man, it's not right.
I think it's selfish. Let's face it. We're all selfish, and we're all narcissistic to a certain extent. When it comes down to, I'm cold, I'm hungry, this fucking sucks, I'm pissed off. Before all this happened, I had a decent life. I had a nice life. I had central heat and air and a refrigerator full of food. Now I'm out here, freezing to death, trying to cook a can of beans and hoping my neighbors don't kill me. Come on. I don't want to live
Well,
through that. I do not want to see the world turn into that.
all I know is the economy is getting ready to collapse, and all these rich people that make $1 billion a year all have yachts. They got Lear jets. They got everything they need to just pick up everything and go away, and they're going to leave us in the squagmire or whatever. We're going to be in the pit of it all, and they're going to leave us that way. And they're going to go off to New Zealand and stuff like that. I just read an article about that.
I did too. There's a bunch of people going to New Zealand.
Yeah, they're going to just pick up and go to New Zealand, and they're not going to get prosecuted for the crimes they committed, and they're going to have all the money and I don't know, gold or whatever.
But you know what? Realistically, if you really think about it, and if the thinking mind can actually sit down and think about the real concept of what would happen if everything fell apart like that, I mean, you're talking about even the infrastructure falling apart.
Well,
You
they've
know,
been
there's
doing that.
nobody to, there's no grid anymore, so all these nuclear power plants, there's no more way to cool the rods off. There's no more electricity. There's no more any of that shit.
Oh, I know. And there's
Okay.
135 of them just in America.
Okay, and then you're thinking about, all right, I know that these rich people think that they're going to be able to get away for a while, but realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. I think some of them will, but I don't think all of them will. I think all of them think they will.
Well, yeah, they've been brought into the game and said, "Hey, you have a few $1 million. Well, you're part of our group. Do what we say, and you'll be saved." And it's like it reminds me of what was it, the day after tomorrow or whatever, when the big waves come over and everything, and they probably have something like a arcs set up somewhere where they can jump in these arcs like big submarines, and they're luxuryized, and they can float around for a while and wait until everything settles out and, and come back and be on the surface again.
Well, and that I don't think a lot of people think about this. And I think about this because I'm the type of person, I hate winter. I hate being cold. I cannot, ugh. I want to be outside. I want to be in the lot. I want to have the warm sun on my face. I want to be out growing a garden or just being outside. A human being is not meant to live in a hole in the ground. And if they are forced to live like that, it's not going to be too long before. I don't care how technologically advanced your hole in the ground is. There's a psychological aspect of that that people do not think about. You're going to be fighting with these people. You're going to be stuck in a hole with a bunch of people that you don't know. There's going to be quite a few of them that you're not going to like. And the first little fight that breaks out, do they not think about that? There is no going outside. There is no getting away from these people. No, you're not going anywhere. You're stuck in there with them.
Oh yeah, I expect them to kill each other off until the strongest survive. I expect them to do that because that's how they've been bred. I mean, they're brought up or whatever. That they'll kill us off, the ones that are nice people, want to get along with each other, and then they're going to fight it out amongst themselves until there's only one whatever that stands up, and they'll be the ruler of a desiccated world.
Well, I mean, just because you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth and you have never wanted for anything and you've got everything you've ever wanted at your beck and command does not mean that you are the strongest.
No. But, I always refer to the Georgia Guidestones. Only 500 million people can exist on the planet. After that, no one else. And the 500 million will be slaves to these 1%ers and, do their beckon to them and everything.
Okay, I was watching that documentary they had on CNN last night about Auschwitz, the survivors of Auschwitz.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all these people that, of course, they were kids when they were taken there with their families, and they remember being on the cars taken into Auschwitz. And I looked at my husband and I said, you know what? If that had been me with an adult mind, especially if I had been an adult in that time period, and you tried to make me get on a cattle car, fuck you. You're going to have to shoot my ass. You are not packing me in a damn cattle car with 100 different people. There's no way. There's no way. I'd rather be shot right here. Go ahead and shoot me, okay? Yeah, I'm not going to a concentration camp. Fuck you. That's me.
Exactly. I mean, it's comes to the point where there's got to be something better than this somewhere else.
I guess I'm just not afraid of death to the point to where, there are some things that I just cannot go along with, and being put in a cattle car, taken to a concentration camp, and not knowing what's going on and having everything taken away from me, and no way. You know what? Maybe I've got that Native American spirit from, I don't have any Native American in me that I know of, but just that spirit of they could not make slaves out of a Native American. They'd commit suicide first. No way.
Oh, yeah.
That's me. I'm not doing that. Go ahead and shoot me. I'm ready. No, you're not. I'm not going to be anybody's slave. I'm not. I can't. I have this problem with authority that keeps me from being able to do certain things. Yes, I pay my taxes because I have to. Yes, I do, obey the laws, do what I'm supposed to do. Yes, I am a functioning member of society. But when it comes to an apocalyptic scenario to where you've got soldiers standing over you and they got a gun in your face saying you are going to get on this cattle car with these 100 other people and we're going to take you wherever we want you to go. No, you're not. I'm not going. No.
No, I understand.
That's worse than death, because I know what the end of that road ends up. Auschwitz, Dachau, name one. All the same shit.
And they're trying to create that right now in the world, and they're trying to get us in World War III. I see the United States going to war with Russia and China just because the government, I have to say the government, not the people, because they disagree, of Israel wants us to. And they want us in that scenario. That's a scenario they want us in.
But you know what?
Save all the banksters. The banksters will live and we will die.
But you know what? I don't think it's all the government, though. I think that there are people involved in that, too. I think it's the people that will say, take her before you take me. You know what I'm saying? They'll sell you out to save their own ass. We all know people like that. We all know people just like what I'm going through right now. I've got people that hate my ass right now because I stand up to what I don't agree with. All I do is voice my opinion against it. This person's a piece of shit. This is exactly out of their own mouth what they do, and I think they're a piece of shit. So therefore, I'm a piece of shit because I speak out against this person, and they spread total lies about you, project their own feelings of themselves or whatever on you, and just because you don't join the bandwagon of petting an idiot, then you're the asshole. So it's not all just the government. It's people are involved in that too. There'll be people who they will throw you right under the bus to save their own ass. And that's what I mean. We do not want this to happen.
No, we don't. We want to, any way we can figure out, we don't want it to happen. But the only way we're going to do it is I think like Mike Rivero in his talk show, he actually stated, we're just going to have to let them go and cut their own throats in the government. And when it gets to a point, we hit the reset button and we start this all over again with the Constitution. Everyone has equal rights. Everyone's equal. And we are not gonna put up with it.
But you know what? I understand what you're saying, and I agree with that. But let's face the facts. That would mean that we would have, to a certain extent, a utopia, and that's never going to happen. Because one person's heaven is another person's hell. You know? I mean, I understand. I'm for the Constitution. I know exactly what you're saying. I agree with a lot of what you just said. But how in the hell are we going to reset anything?
We'll have to wait till they prove themselves of what they are. How you prove a dictatorship until they show it, and then the people start seeing it and they stand up and said, no, we're not going along with this.
But you know what, though? I mean, you can even watch YouTube videos. You can watch the news. You can watch. People don't even know what's going on politically, but they're too worried about a deflated football. That has been the talk of the town for a week and a half. It's fucking deflated footballs. Who gives a shit about the Patriots and their fucking football? Do you actually know what ISIS is doing right now? Do you know they're out there blowing the walls down of an ancient site called Nineveh? That would be the same thing as if you went out and nuked one of the pyramids, or knocked down the Temple of the Mount, and no one gives a shit, and half the people don't even know about it. They don't care. What's Nineveh? What's that? What's on TV?
Yeah, that's it. The TV. That's our biggest fall. I mean, even Orwell used the TV when it was in its primitiveness to prove what was coming to us, because he was an insider. His name's not Laurie Orwell. It's another name. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But that was his pen name. And that's the only way he got that book written, called 1984. And he points out, this is the plan. This is what they're going to do. This is how they're going to do it. And you're all going to stand up in front of a big audience in a theater going, we hate this one guy because he is somebody, it's bad. And that's how it's going down the tube. Because they're always pointing out these people are bad. These people are bad. You know, Saddam Hussein wasn't bad. He had a country that was almost like New York City, if not like New York City. And they said, well, he has nukes. He has yellow stuff. And he could make a bomb. And they went in there and took it and took the oil. You got to remember what they're after. If you're a country that doesn't have anything that's of value to this new world order, they were not going to do a dang thing to them. Not a single thing. But if you have oil, you have mineral wealth, gold, silver, or something else, oh my God, they're going to go in there and throw in a group like ISIS and go in there and cause a civil war, and then they're going to turn around and say, well, we got to step in to save these people because they're being attacked by this such and such group. And that's what they're doing. It's all about minerals and wealth. It's really nothing. We could all get along together if the only thing we did was trade amongst ourselves. We could all get along together, but no, we got to have conflict to take the wealth from these countries and bring them down. I mean, they're going into Iraq again for the 4th time. There's something wrong if they have to go back there 4 times. When they said after the 2 times, we have victory here. And it's a game. It's a mind game, a terrible mind game, but they're playing it on the population of the planet, and a lot of people are waking up and they're not going along with it. That's why we have the BRICS happening. China, Russia, South America, they're all separating from the dollar because we've been too long trying to take this wealth by force that everyone's starting to see it and going, well, you can't have that wealth. That's their wealth. We can trade with them. We can all be prosperous. Look at the corporations in the United States that went down the tubes. It's gone. We're nothing like we were after World War II with all the corporations and stuff that we used to have. It's
Well, we
all
don't.
marketing. It's marketing this and marketing that. And the TV tells you, dress in this, buy this, take that. And it's like, well, there's a lot of people now living on the street and because they lost their housings in the housing bubble. And they're all, I mean, this is getting ready to be a powder keg, and it's starting to swell, and it's ready to explode at any time.
Well, you've got to think about the psychological aspect of the division, and they've been working on this for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
It goes beyond class warfare. They have single-handedly almost destroyed healthy debate, for one thing. We're divided because from birth we've been conditioned to be that way. It's just like, I've got an idiot that made a video about me, and it's very short, but it's the only emphasis of it is the fact that, see, I'm going to be 46, but this person is trying to say that I'm almost 50. Well, I'm 4 years from it. Yeah, so fucking what? But just based on my age, that I'm lying when I said that last semester in college that I made the dean's list. You see what I'm saying? It's like you can only achieve this goal if you are under the age of blank. ...
Yeah.
It's not, it's impossible for a woman who doesn't look her age, who happens to look a certain way and hasn't been in school for almost 30 years, but it's implausible that she could actually go back to school and make straight A's? No way! You're fucking lying! Prove it!
See how they is and how they are? A lot of them been dumbed down on chemicals and stuff. I mean, they've been dumbed down. I keep away from chemicals as far as the pharmaceuticals and everything. I don't want abomination care. I call it that with an A, abomination. It's an abomination because they're forcing something on me that I don't need because I take care of myself. I buy my own vitamins. I know what I need to have in my system. And I don't look my age at 55. And I'm back there. I'm about 10 years older, but that's how I is.
Well, I'm the same way. You know, I quit smoking. I hardly ever drink anymore. I've always watched my weight. I've always tried to eat right. But no, I'm on meth. That's why I'm so skinny because I do all these drugs. And, the only way that you're 46 and you're a size 2 is because you're on drugs. You know, it's
Yeah,
not that you take care of yourself and that you refuse to let yourself go because you know where that road leads to heart disease, diabetes. You're one of the ones riding around Walmart and you're 46 and you look 70 and you're fat and you can't even walk across the room without sounding like you ran a fucking marathon. You know, that's what letting yourself go leads to. We know that. You know,
exactly.
but to have a brain in your head, you have to be in this category and you have to be a certain age and you can't be female apparently. If you say that you've done this, you're a liar. You know,
I know. That's the same delusion. I'm looking at everyone around me, and it's like, well, you didn't take care of yourself. I keep telling people, take vitamins. I've been doing it for 35 years. I've been taking vitamins, and I don't look my age. I ask people that, and they go, we don't look that old. Of course not. I took vitamins. My body regenerates. I mean,
well, it's also your frame of mind. If you think old, you become old. If you sit around and not do anything, you're not active, you watch TV all the time, you eat junk, you drink like a damn fish, well, of course you're going to look old. Of course you're going to be old because you're tearing your body down.
oh yeah. I have to admit, I do. I do drink moderately, and I do smoke moderately, but it doesn't show because I'm able to replace my toxins out of my body. I got stuff that takes toxins out of my body. I got hemp oil,
Exactly.
actual hemp oil and stuff. And I'm able to get away with my vices because I use stuff that actually will keep me from showing those signs because it's fighting against those signs and I'm able to do my vices.
Exactly. I mean, you eat right, you wear, you take your vitamins, you get up, you're not sedentary, you're not sitting there constantly on the computer 24 hours a day, You try to keep your stress level down. That's another thing. Now that'll kill you faster than anything is stress.
Oh yeah, you just have no stress. Be stress free and you'll be healthy.
But, that's what I mean. I mean, a lot of it is just like with the loss of healthy debate. Used to, you could sit down, you could have a debate, you could disagree, but that's as far as it went. Now it's, well, I don't agree with you. You're an asshole. You're ugly. Your mama dresses you funny. You should go off somewhere and die. Really? Where does that come from? I don't understand
Education.
that. I can disagree with you. Exactly. I can disagree with you, but that does not mean that I want you to die or,
I mean,
I
they're
just,
teaching kids to believe that government has the answers for everything. Well, I've disagreed with government for years. I've seen how corrupt and look at them and see what they look like, and I'm going, well, I'm not looking like you. I'm your same age, and you look twice my age. You look like you're ready to crack and fall over. That's why I look at some of these senators and Republican congressmen. They're all like aged greatly because of their abuse to their bodies without taking into account you got to take vitamins. Since 1940s, the USDA said that the soil's depleted, so you have to take vitamins to make up for all the stuff you eat to fulfill that missing space in your body of minerals and vitamins and everything else.
I don't know. There's so many problems. I mean, it's more than just, the government doesn't want you to have this, that, and other. It's just the mindset of people. That's a big part of it too, you know.
Oh yeah, they're always doing that. They're always sitting there saying, "Well, we gotta get rid of these vitamins and stuff." You get everything from Monsanto, no, whatever. No, Monsanto's good for you. Eat this corn. Now we got Agent Orange in your food. Eat
I've
the
got a
Agent
friend.
Orange.
I've got a friend in Kentucky that grows corn. He drives a truck most of the year, and then he's got a field that he rents out to a friend of his, and they grow corn. And he was trying to sell me on Monsanto. Oh, that Roundup Ready, your body filters out the Roundup, and it doesn't get in your genes. I'm like, how in the hell does your body filter out Roundup Ready food? Can you explain that to me? Oh, that's just a conspiracy theorist. That's that conspiracy theorist part of you. There's nothing wrong with those seeds, and it's okay to have Roundup genetically modified into this corn. And okay, you go ahead and eat it.
Yeah, go ahead and eat that. As it's filtering through your kidneys to get it out of your system, it's damaging your kidneys, and you're going to have kidney failure. And okay, go ahead, eat the Roundup. Roundup causes kidney failure, but don't listen to the people out there, the conspiracy people. Eat that Roundup. It's good for you, even though the bugs and everything have adapted to it, and it's no longer effective to it. Like the what is it? The corn root parasite that eats on the roots of the corn. Now they got Agent Orange adopted grain, and now we're going to put Agent Orange in there. Well, I've known people who came back from Vietnam and the Korean War had Agent Orange, and they're in bad shape. They have to go to the doctor all the time. They have lesions on their arms and everything, and I'm like, yeah, I can see that. It must be good for you. I just look at them and go, no.
Cancer makes a man out of you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just amazed of what they've done. It's just it's scary. It's monstrous that they have allowed all these poisons in our food, plus your prescriptions, which I can just watch on TV, and they go, well, this will get rid of your depression, but yet it may cause suicide, manic depression, wanting to kill your neighbor or something. And
I have to ask a question real quick. Raven, this is not for you. Jason, how many pounds of food did you grow last year?
well, I'm starting to get there. But I'm
Okay,
trying to find
hold
pure
on.
seeds. I'm
How
trying to find pure seeds.
How many pounds of food did you grow last year?
Well, actually, I didn't grow any, but I
Oh,
watched my
then,
diet.
but then you lose the opportunity to bitch about the food you're eating because you haven't done anything to change it. See, I have the same argument with my friend Texas 101. She is on this huge rampage to go against this Common Core education system because it's so bad for her children, but yet she leaves her kid in the school system while she fights them about it. If it's that bad and your child is not being educated, you remove your child from that system and put them into a different system. You see what I'm saying? It's like you can't have it both ways. Either
Yeah, but can you do that when you're punching and fighting to make a
there is
living
no
and you
but. Yes, you can. I do.
you
If
make
I
more
can do
money
it,
than I do?
no, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. I work $14 a fucking hour, dude. $14 an hour. And I still have a full-time job, and I still grow my own food, and I still make my own electricity, and I still do all those things. And I don't bitch a third as much as you guys do about the shit being broken. If it's broken, do something to fix it.
See, I do. That's what I was saying. I grow a garden every year. I've got a rabbit, and I've got her compost. I use her compost in my garden. I wish I had more land so I could grow more, because I love it. I've gotten into it, and I do it every year. I can everything, And I try to get everybody I know to grow something. And I've been successful. I mean, I've got some friends that they're growing gardens now.
That's how you've got to do this. Bro, if you want a change to happen in the world, you have to make it in your own yard first.
Yep.
I can do that. I have to plow up my backyard, but no. If I do it in the front yard, they'll probably come out and say there's some ordinance that says you can't grow.
Okay, but that doesn't matter. Yes, they probably will, whoever they are. But they are probably your neighbors that don't want to look at a messy fucking front yard. Too bad. You have a backyard, grow your food in your backyard. Shit happens. That's the price of living in a neighborhood with other people.
And I tell you what, you would be amazed what you can grow in just pots, big pots. You can grow tomatoes. You can grow herbs.
5-gallon buckets.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, you want to see something really slick. There's a fellow on YouTube by the name of Larry Hall, Hall, like in a hallway. Larry has and is developing what he calls a grow bag. And what he does is he takes these old fucking canvas bags from the grocery store, you know, the ones you take back and forth to the store to get your groceries so you're not using a bunch of plastic. And those bags are relatively cheap. And he takes those bags, puts topsoil and whatever he wants to add to it, we'll call it Miracle Grow, but whatever it is that he wants it to grow in, he puts it in the canvas bag. Then he takes a dozen of these canvas bags and puts them in a little plastic kiddie pool and just keeps a little water in the bottom of the pool. This shit is amazing that he'll grow out of these canvas bags, and that's something you can do in a footprint that's 5 foot round.
I can see that.
I grow tomatoes. I put tires. I've got 3 tires in the backyard, and I'll put them in a little corner. I do experiments. I grow them in all kinds of different things just to see which one does better, which part of the yard they grow better. You know, I'll just take a tire, and I'll make a little top garden out of it. I'll just put some dirt in it, put my plant in there, and I just see what does better. Does it grow better in a pot, or does it grow better in a storage bin, or the tire, or... And as you go, and every year you get better at it, you find out what works and what doesn't. I dig it. I get into it. I love it. It's easy, though. You don't have to have a bunch of room. You don't have to have a bunch of land. I just say I wish I had more land because I'd just have a bigger garden.
Oh, yeah.
I have a total of 4 semi-raised beds that are 4 foot by 12 foot. That's it. I haven't used the greenhouse in 3 years, but I have a little greenhouse if I wanted to use it. But out of 4 semi-raised beds that are 4 foot by 12 foot or 50 square foot apiece, it's only 200 square foot of garden, I can grow enough food to take care of the 2 of us. Period. Minus protein, obviously. Meat's a different subject. But enough vegetables will come out of there that I still have an abundance canned years deep.
And what people don't understand is if you don't have vegetables, if you don't have nutrients saved, you can't live on ramen noodles and chips and garbage and processed food. If anything happens, you're not going to live very long. You've got to have vegetables. And can them. They'll last for years. It's easy. Canning, there's nothing to it.
Yeah, the only time canning gets it all weird is when you start doing meats. That's it.
Haven't gone there yet. I'm too scared to try that.
Yeah, it requires pressure usually, not just a water bath.
Wow.
But even that, none of it's hard.
And it's trial and error. The first times until you get good at canning and figure out what you're doing, you're gonna have some bust, you're gonna have some ruin. It's just part of learning. But it's trial and error.
I'm gonna take you downstairs, Jason. I'll show you some of what I'm talking about.
That's what I'd like to do is grow inside so I don't get any of Fukushima on my food. That would be good. I'm still worried about everywhere else. I like to grow grapefruits, but in the northern hemisphere you can't really grow grapefruits.
No.
You see that, buddy?
Ah, that looks like mine, except for out the canned stuff. I mean, the ones that were done at home.
Look at that.
There you go.
And pretty. Oh, wow, pretty. Look at this. Bam.
Hell yeah. That's some good eating right there.
Those are from 9/15/13, and look at that color, man. That's habanero right there. I like peppers, in case you can't tell. And there's, I mean, they go, 5, 6 jars deep, most of them. Fruits and jams and jellies and vegetables. Yeah. And always have some of that, too. I have pallets of that, but I'm just saying, man, as far as the food goes, I'm a poor guy, and I keep rooms of shit, man.
That's how you survive right there.
Like that whole shelf down there, this is just jars. Just stuff to do more canning with. So those are all just cases of jars, empty jars. Always have multiple canners, dehydrator, of course, plenty of stuff for, vacuum packing and sealing and all that shit. And then there's other things people don't think about either that you can get real cheap every year. Like this particular one, who knows if it's in focus or not. But this is salsa mix. I like this particular one. I do it with a bunch of other stuff. But canning salts and spices, all that stuff. Every year I go to Lowe's at the end of the season and buy everything they have for pennies on the dollar. I mean, some of this stuff, I don't know if there's still prices written on here or not. I mean, some of these you can get for as cheap as like 50 cents, 70 cents a container. Normally they're like $5. Same thing. All of this shit the same way. Extra rings and lids and more spices and seasonings and canning salts and lemon juice, vinegar. I keep jars of vinegar around for that stuff. But those are little things that you can, like I said, even just take advantage of when they have the sale, buy it and stock up for the next year.
Dollar store. When I go to the dollar store, the first aisle I go to is the clearance because they all have all the spices and all that stuff. I buy it every time I go in there. I buy everything they have. It doesn't take a lot of money, Jason. It really doesn't.
I
Every
always
year
worry about dollar store. I always worry about that because
Well,
they get it all
then-
from China, and you
like
don't
I
know
said,
what
at the end
Chinese
of
put
it-
in that stuff.
At the end of the season, typically you're looking at about late October to, well, typically mid-November and later. Places like Lowe's will have sales where they sell all that shit. I bought 2 copies of the Big Ball Canning book last year, $4 a piece. I bought 2 12-quart or 14-quart, the big, porcelain-coated pots, wire strainers for the jars, and 2 cases of jars for each one of those pots. And I gifted them to friends of mine, saying, here, look, you can do it too. And it cost me like $12 a set. And it got them everything they need to can. The big tongs and the magnet on a stick and everything you need, a funnel. And you can buy that shit for cheap, bro.
Another place to go to get stuff like that too, Goodwill.
Oh, yeah.
I love Goodwill. I'm there at least once a week. Thrift stores.
I was just
I
going
don't-
to say, any thrift store.
I don't buy anything full price unless I absolutely have to now. Because there's just too many places you can go, thrift stores and stuff, where you can get it cheap. Goodwill. We can teach you, man. It's not hard. It's really not. And you get into it and it's fun. It's you feel good knowing that you can do it. It
I was talking last night to a guy who makes his living from selling stuff from thrift shops, and he turns around and sells them on eBay. He can, fix blenders or whatever and make them look brand new and put them out there. You could do that too if you want to make money off and
I
have
got
more money.
I got an eBay store.
And what he was basically saying about anything you could buy in a thrift shop, you can probably sell it for $2 or $3 more than you paid for it on eBay. I mean, it's really wild. I'm saying, well, I got a lot of stuff here I need to get rid of. I guess I should start that up as a business and start getting rid of some stuff.
Something else you can do, I do this too. I'll check Craigslist, the free stuff. Now, most of it's crap, but a lot of it is people have garage sales and they have stuff left over and they just want it gone. And you can get it for, a lot of times you can get that stuff free.
Check freecycle.org.
Wow.
That's everything's free. Free cycle.
Cool.
We have to start doing this type of stuff. It's getting to that point where survival is barter. We need to start bartering or whatever to get things moving.
Oh, I've been doing that for a long time.
Has to barter.
Around here we call that the hustle.
Yep.
Out east they call it dickering.
Yeah, I got get a little cinnamon over here. I got cinnamon. Well, I have some ground cinnamon, just plain cinnamon.
And
Yeah.
even though it's cold here in Tennessee, I just pulled 3 onions. 3 onions out of my garden, and it's January. There's some things that grow almost all year round, even when it's cold. Some of my herbs, I've got oregano out there still.
Yeah, you wouldn't have that here, honey. We're just that much farther north.
Yeah, I'm right on the line. Most everything else is gone, but I had chives until December.
The only thing that I've ever had grow through the winter was Brussels sprouts.
Ooh, and I can't stand
yeah.
Brussels sprouts. Yuck.
Oh, they come up every year. They're like a weed. They'll actually be like a weed, and they'll grow bigger and bigger every year. Yeah, I know not Brussels sprouts, but asparagus.
Asparagus is what you're referring to, yeah. But
Yeah,
you got to be careful with
asparagus.
that too. There is some care that you got to take, or they won't. Like you've got to get them below frost line. So typically, some type of loose mulch, like dried leaves or something, you want to pile up on them a good foot and a half deep. That's why they grow so well in ditches on the side of the highway. If you look, there's wild asparagus growing everywhere on the side of the highway. And it's because as they mow the lawn and all that clippings and shit toward the end of the year, it accumulates on top of them and it keeps them insulated through the winter.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Something else too, I don't rake my leaves up until spring. It keeps everything warm.
Wow. I used to mulch leaves in the yard itself for the grass and get it all mulched down so the grass would be able to come up out of it and come back nice and plush. Haven't used fertilizer on the yard for years, but if you mulch up all the leaves from the trees, it fertilizes them.
Tell you what, my little rabbit sitting over here, that's the best fertilizer in the whole world. My rabbit grows the best tomatoes.
rabbit poop.
Yep. It's clean. It's not stinky. All it is vegetables.
Yeah, it's pellets. Yeah, it comes out pellets, and it's like a pellet fertilizer.
Little poops.
No poops. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta start growing some stuff. Tried to grow garlic, but I didn't have it in a sunny place. It needs to be in sunshine. And I had it in this shaded area with ferns, and it didn't do very well. Ferns kind of wiped it out.
Well, what I learned when I first started growing is I would just put a little bit in every part of my yard just to see where it grew the best. I did that with my onions, with my cucumbers. I've had cucumbers in probably 4 different places in the yard until I figured out the best spot.
I'll tell you something else with garlic too. Garlic is a bulb plant. People don't realize that, but you have to plant it in the fall before the winter that you want it to grow.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's like a tulip.
what's the problem? I go in the spring. Oh, okay.
Well, like your
Like a
onions,
tulip.
my onions do better in the fall than they do in the summer because it's so hot.
Wow.
I mean, they do okay, but they're more like what do you call it? There's a bougie name for onions, but they're kind of small in the summer, but boy, in the fall they're just big, nice bulbs at the bottom.
Wow. Yeah, that's the whole thing. I have to figure out planting seasons for certain herbs like that, like garlic and onions. I got wild onions out in the yard. They'd grow like weeds.
Yep.
And
Now, if you're going to grow oregano, let me tell you from personal experience, put them in a pot because I made the mistake of growing oregano, just putting them in the ground, and oh, it takes
Growing
everything over. Oh, God.
wow.
I'll never have to buy oregano ever again because I dry it and store it, and it's just, I'm overrun with it every year.
I'll tell you one of my favorite, just let it grow weeds is cilantro. I love the smell of cilantro.
Oh, yeah, that and rosemary. I like rosemary, too.
Wow.
My chives, even my rabbit loves the chives.
I grew fresh dill several years ago too. I ended up with a shit ton of it. I've probably still got 2 pounds of dried dill.
Yep, it grows like wildfire. Zucchini. I've got zucchini just running out of my ears. Boy, it did good last year.
Yeah, we had a pretty good squash year last year too. I did a squash I had never grown before. It was called a Gretel, like Hansel and Gretel squash.
Yeah.
And it's they're long, skinny. The best time to pick them, I guess, is supposed to be like 6 to 8 inches long, but they will get slightly larger than that. But they're only about an inch or so in diameter. Real long, slender, almost like a banana, but they're bright white with a little purple top on them. And those were incredibly good. We did those. I did some black beauties last year as well. We did acorn squash. Yeah.
My eggplant did really good. It was the first year I've grown eggplant, and it did real good.
You like eggplant, do you?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't care for the eggplant so much.
I'm the only one that eats it, so. In fact, most of what I grow, my husband won't touch. He's just not a vegetable person, but that's okay. He could become one if he had to.
Yeah, there's very few things that I don't like. Well, like, for instance, I grow Brussels sprouts, but I grow them for Abby. I don't eat the damn things.
No.
You don't eat Brussels sprouts?
Yuck.
Brussels sprouts are good.
They
Brussels
stink.
sprouts.
They taste like feet smell.
Ooh, they're stinky. Ugh.
You just gotta clean them off and put them in butter, and it's all good.
I
I'd
draw
rather
the
just
line
eat
at
the butter.
cabbage. I draw the line at cabbage. That's as stinky and
Or cabbage is just a big Brussels sprout to me. That's
No,
what
it's not. I mean, maybe to you it is, but that's not what they are.
mm-mm.
You don't like Brussels sprouts. Oh, come on.
No, man. We've tried cooking them every which way but loose. I just don't care for them.
Mm-mm. Okra, I like it fried, but I don't like it boiled. It's like snot. Ugh.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's gotta be fried. That's why I draw my line. Okra, fried. Dry it out. Dry it out a little bit. Ooh.
If it looks like snot and smells like feet, no. Yuck.
That's what you do with Brussels sprouts. You fry them. See, you kind of fry them in butter, and they taste all right once the butter is induced. Kind of
And-
boil them a little bit, and then you fry them.
And see, what I do is if I grow stuff that I don't care for, and then a friend of mine grows his, and I grow stuff that he likes, and he's got stuff that I'd rather have, and he's not crazy about, we trade.
See? Bartering. That's what barters are about. They're trying to get rid of bartering. I don't know why they want to get rid of bartering.
Wait. Who is they?
Obama and his administration came out with something saying they want to get rid of bartering in his first administration, and he was saying,
I would love to see where he said anything about getting rid of bartering.
"Oh yeah, the government hates that. You're not trading
Oh,
that
hush.
piece of worthless paper amongst yourself. You got to trade that paper."
But see, Spellbinder, you have to kind of like ignore some of that hopped up crap, because I'm going to tell you something, just like in the state I live in, you can pass all the laws you want to a certain extent, but there's always going to be country people that's going to look and say, you know what, you can kiss my ass. I will grow gardens and stuff in my front yard if I want to.
Exactly.
And nobody's going to say anything because everybody else is doing it too, and they can't get everybody, you know?
Yeah. Kind of like the lemonade stands. I never understood that. Oh, we got to shut down the lemonade stands. They're making money without paying us some type of currency and making money off of it. I always didn't understand that. Lemonade stands used to be, everyone used to do lemonade stands, like Girl Scout cookies.
Well, what they might go after in California, that stuff does not work in Tennessee. So that's what I mean. You got to kind of just do away with some of that hop and just, you know, shake your head and go on, because just because they do that in California don't mean they do it here.
That's true.
It's all about being in good with your neighbors, knowing your neighbors, everybody being cool. That's what you worry about. You worry about who's around you. You worry about who you network with, and screw all that hopped up crap.
Or you can look at who's leading by example. The first thing the Obama family did when they got in that house is made a garden in the backyard.
Yeah, I know, and that's something. And they're telling you, you can't do that in California.
No, they're
You can't have
not.
a
The
garden
president
in
isn't saying you
Indiana.
can't do anything in California. California local government is doing whatever they're doing. Come on,
Yep.
man. You know the difference.
Somebody must be telling them to do that. I can't believe they're doing that on their own. It just sounds like they're insane if they live there and they're not allowing it. Somebody had to tell them and say, I want you to go out there and step on their toes and say they can't do that.
Well, now here, our governor.
A lot of it has to do with the fact that their water is piped in through giant pipes, and there's not an overabundance of water to be watering plants with.
Yep.
And I mean, there comes a point where the greater good of the people is you have to conserve water. You know what I
Well,
mean?
you do understand that they let the infrastructure collapse in L.A. And the water aqueducts that they bring down from the mountains have leaks in them. They're cracked.
Well, sure,
And they're
because
not
nobody
going
wants to
out
come off the
there
money
and
to fix
patching
it.
them up.
Sure,
Oh,
because the
yeah,
people
the
don't want to
money
have
out of
their
their
taxes
pocket.
increased. Well, shit happens, man. The people
No,
have
they
chosen
got plenty of money. This is not where they're putting it, except in their
doesn't matter.
pockets.
People
And
have
these
chosen
guys
to
are just
live.
going to have to pull up and
People
say,
have
I'm a
chosen
hero.
where if plants are not conducive to growing. If you choose to live somewhere that plants won't grow in your yard naturally, you're a retard.
Let me tell you something about LA too, because I used to live in San Bernardino and it's 48 miles from LA. All right, I used to go to LA all the time. You know when you watch movies like Terminator and they're having the car chase in that little culvert there? See, that's part of the Los Angeles River. Parts of the Los Angeles River that runs through LA, it's nothing but a trickle of water until when it rains too much. And then it's a river and you see people being swept away down it. But, you know, there's a lot of people don't know that.
It's a concrete jungle. It's controlled flooding. Nothing more.
Exactly.
Well, you seen what they done to Nevada and Lake Mead. It's 40 feet plus below level because they have to have the electricity. So therefore, they open up the water there and run it down the Colorado River. And well, I lived out there. I know what was happening. When I left, it was 20 feet. Now it's over 45 feet below level. There's buoys they used to have where shallow rocks were. We didn't take your boat through it.
Yeah, but see,
Now
like
they're just
me,
on
like,
island. On islands now.
but see, the problem with Las Vegas is too, now you would know this if you lived there. They built this city out in the middle of a fucking desert where nothing grows and it hardly ever rains. And the only water source they had is Lake Mead. Well, when the city grows and gets too big and they don't have enough water source and then you don't have rain for a few years, yeah, it's going to make Lake Mead go dry.
Well, they got the Virgin River. It comes out of Utah, and the Virgin River runs into Lake Mead, and it fills it up. But they opened up those generators to give LA power because LA doesn't have any other source of power, I guess. And well, they run that. I mean, there's dry docks out there. I mean, literally places where I went out, you could put a boat out into Lake Mead that are now at least a quarter mile away from the water, and they're dry. They're dry docks. And I'm impressed.
You know, in California, it's like Florida and Georgia. They have water wars. They fight over water. Northern California doesn't want to give Southern California any water, and they actually fight over it. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
We thought about going up to Canada and tapping into that and bringing water down from Canada to give LA water, but you know, that's hadn't happened.
Note to self, if you're going to build a metropolis, build it where there's water.
Oh yeah, I mean they showed the San Fernando Valley in California. It used to be green. I mean, it was just totally green, and suddenly now it's dry. I mean, it looks like a desert out there where they used to grow crops. And it's because the water systems they had, they let them degrade, and they're leaking out water where they don't need it, and they're not fixing these pipelines from Oregon down through there, and they're leaking out in places they don't need the water.
You know, that's a scary thing too. I've noticed that within the last 10 years it's gotten really bad. Our infrastructure sucks. Man, I'll tell you what, Nashville, Tennessee has some of the worst highways. God, potholes. There's some interstates around here I won't even hardly drive down. 24,
Oh no!
it's just falling apart. I'm
And
dodging potholes because I don't want to bend my rims.
Oh, exactly. I mean, it keeps the auto repair companies in business, but that's not business. I mean, you shouldn't have to do that all day.
Well, a few years ago we spent money on roads. Now we spend money on wars.
Mhm. That's where they all went to the war. We got to go out there and fight these terrorists so we can get their oil and their minerals and take it all away from them. I mean, a lot of that is actually what it is. I mean, they're punishing the people that used to just have a life, and now they have nothing because there's terrorists out there. And it could be a wedding party of 200 people, and we're sending a cruise missile in there and kill everyone, and to get one person we think is a terrorist.
Well, that's an overused term, terrorist.
Very much.
I am so sick of that word.
They're not terrorists. They're either freedom fighters or they're people, trying to protect their land. I mean, from being taken away from them. I've already seen that in the last 10 years.
That and the word patriot. I'm about sick of that fucking word too, because half the people that are supposedly patriots are far from it.
Yeah, they've become the opposite. Yeah, we're living in a very screwed up world. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And
Well,
it's not going to get better until we stand up and 300 million people at the same time and say no.
good luck with that.
Yeah, I know. Say no. Well, I'm doing okay where I'm at, and other people say other things, and they're not being affected. But yeah, it's coming to you. It's coming down the pipe. You just haven't seen it yet. And it's getting more and more and more.
Well,
And it's-
people sit around and wait for this fearless leader to take the reins and do the work for everybody else. People don't want they want somebody to do it for them. They don't want to do it themselves because that takes too much time and effort. And my TV show's coming on, so I don't have time. You're going to have to find somebody else.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
And it's sad. They want somebody
Yeah.
else to do all the work. It takes a concerted effort between everybody, and good luck.
Yeah. That's the way they set it up. They set this whole thing up to
Well,
make us fight against each other and everything else. I mean, you have blacks against whites, terrorists against Americans, and they just and MSM is the biggest cause of that because they get on there and they talk saying, well, there's a terrorist under your bed, you better go and look. And I'm sitting back going, there's no terrorist here.
well, I'm gonna tell you about that race baiting and shit too. Now that pisses me off because you got people like Al Sharpton get out there and try to speak for Black
Exactly.
American, and most black folks look at him and go, you know what? If he tells you it's raining, you better go out and look.
Yeah, exactly. You ever go out and look and put your umbrella away in the closet because it's not going to happen.
Ain't a cloud in the sky, and this fool's telling everybody it's raining.
That's like the global warming and all that stuff. That's another way of take money from you, me, and put in their pockets. And it's they keep saying it. They're saying it's global warming causing snow.
Well, now climate change is real. We are going through climate change, but
That's right.
we are not causing it.
No, we're not causing it as a people. And when they bring up climate change, I just say, okay, climate change. Fall, winter, spring,
The
summer,
sun,
and that's climate change.
the
You
sun,
the sun,
sunspots, lack of
yeah,
sunspots.
right.
You know, I don't know of any SUVs on Mars, and it's heating up too. So, you know,
Oh, exactly. It's the same thing. They just try to say that we're causing it. We're causing Mars to have dry temperatures. We got charged a tax.
goddamn Martian SUVs, fucking Martian coal plants, damn them all.
That was like before it's news. They had a picture of the Mars rover taking a picture, and it looked like a human standing next to it. And that's another thing, they're trying to say that, well, somebody's got to clean the solar panels off of those Mars rovers out in the Mojave Desert. I mean, sometimes I think they do have them out there in Mojave Desert because some of these pictures, I lived out in the desert. You did too, didn't you?
Yep.
And near that, and you see those little trails that go up the mountains, curvy trails. And
Yeah, those are like fire trails. Yep.
And they're taking pictures of these mountains, and I'm looking at going, I've been in a place like that. I've actually walked up those things, and they're saying I don't know if we have Mars rovers on Mars or not when they show stuff like that. I'm almost questionable.
You know, that kills me. I mean, you know, I lived in Florida and we used to go and watch the space shuttle take off, which was really cool. But until people really research exactly how they got that thing up, it was a crapshoot every time they launched that damn thing, number one. I mean, you've got to get up to like Mach whatever in a certain amount of time, and it's like having a race car with a full tank of fuel just gassing it, hoping to God you get up in the air, oh shit, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, the actual theory behind that is escape velocity is 7 miles per second. They have to get up to 7 miles per second to have escape velocity.
There ain't no fucking way that you're going to strap me in that damn hoopty. That's like putting the fucking wings on a 77 Cougar and hoping to God you make it through the atmosphere. Yeah, fuck that.
That's it. I mean, this one astronaut said that you strap me into this tin can on a rocket, like an Atlas rocket, and send me up there in a capsule. And it's like two people when they went to the moon, it was like two people on a bicycle going up to the moon.
With a monkey pedaling its ass off.
And I keep hearing about that keeps coming up, the Van Allen belts. How did they ever make it through the Van Allen belts? They were several thousand miles, even though they were going about 1,000 miles an hour. The dosage of radiation would have killed them on the way back and the way back in.
Well, just being an anti-gravity fucks you up. I mean, they're talking about if you ever did go to Mars, by the time you got there, you'd probably die because the effects of no gravity on your body. It fucks you up.
Oh, yeah. You lose muscle tone and everything.
You're like, you went up there, you had the bone mass of a 35-year-old, you come back and you're like 80.
Yeah. And being on the moon in those moon suits, I don't understand it, because when they came back, the nuclear industry came to NASA and said, we'd like to use those moon suits that you used on the moon because it protected you from all that radiation from the sun, being in a atmosphere-less environment. And they said, well, it really doesn't protect you from radiation. And that was one of the whistle blows that came out from the NASA missions. Did we really make it up there? Did we really walk around on the moon with no atmosphere in these suits that NASA even admitted it didn't protect you from radiation. There's no lead in those suits. And it was like, okay.
I think we made it, but I think we barely made it. It was like, I mean, really, I think about it like you're in a fucking Pinto and they just barely made it up through the atmosphere, and then they got there and they barely fucking made it back. You know, I think we did get there, but it's just like I say, if space travel was like, you know, even if it was the Millennium
17
Falcon,
times.
you know, even if
Yeah.
it was like Star Wars and the Millennium Falcon where it won't start and you hit the dashboard and it starts, you know, I would still go if it was like that kind of technology. But if you're going to put me in this hoopty, you know, and just
Tin
have to
can.
fucking gas on it and hope to God you make it, you know, you're like in the ghetto mobile, you know.
Well, I know you're in this tin can, and this aluminum's supposed to protect you from all the radiation and everything. I'm kind of going, you
Well,
know,
dude, even when they come back, the heat shields are like melted off of it, and it's got fucking holes in it, and you couldn't turn around and take off again. You know, it's not like the airlines where you got planes flying around older than you are. You know, it ain't like that. They come back and they're fucking melted, and they got battle scars all over them, and let one heat shield come off, and you're fucking dead. You know, no, hell no. You've had to have just huge balls and no fear of death to do that, in my opinion. There's no
no,
way.
I sometimes think that NASA had advanced technology, and they were able to make a deflector shield that protected their little aluminum can that they went up there in, and it actually protected the entire thing. But they can't come out and admit it because that's advanced technology. You won't know that for another 20 years from now. I mean, that they had this technology. It's like the lunar module when it took off on the moon. The explosive bolts, you see them pop off of that. When it's raising up in the air, you don't see a flame coming from the bottom of that lunar module when it's going back up there to I mean, the link up with the spacecraft. It's like they had anti-gravity plate or something, and it shot them off the moon. And that's the only thing I can think of. I mean, I've watched the documentary, you know. Funny thing happened on the way to the moon and stuff like that. And I think maybe, what's his name, the director actually did fake some of that stuff on Earth with them on the Earth and everything, because he was given the camera to use to make The Shining or something. He was given the actual camera, which is a high resolution camera of the time that was made. I mean, it makes, you know, it's not that high, that great of a camera today, but back then he was given that camera, and he used that camera in certain scenes of his movies. What is it? Helix, or what is his name? Did The Shining, the director,
Oh shit, Stanley Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick, and he had that possession of that camera. It came back after the Apollo missions, and they gave him one of them, and he used it actually in some of his movies, and that blew me away that he was able to use those cameras as a filming camera to do The Shining and other features. And I just went, that just tells me that he was involved somehow in some way in this stuff. It was, because those were like, you know, $14,000 cameras off the bat, you know. And he was able to get one of them to use to do his movie. So somehow he was involved where he helped them out, and they said, yeah, you can use this camera. Here you go.
Well, I just kind of look at it like, did we make it to the moon? Yeah, because I kind of think it was like, when you were in high school and you had a piece of shit car and y'all all went out of town and you're thinking, okay, we can make it 40 miles round trip. What was that? I don't know. Just as long as we make it home, you fucking get home and there's shit falling out of the back of the car and shit, fucking tires
Exhaust.
flat.
Yeah,
Fucking
the exhaust falls off.
heater quit working like 15 miles ago and you're fucking freezing your ass off, but you made it. But Mars,
but
no, 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 no. There's no way that I would take in that same piece of shit car and driven 300 miles. No, 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 no. I don't think that we're able to go to Mars. No, we can barely get a damn camera up there, much less, and I wouldn't want to go. Just like these people signing up for this one-way trip. Yeah, I'm suicidal.
really.
I hate life. I'll go. Fuck it. My
Yeah.
life sucks so bad. I want a one-way trip to Mars. Fuck it.
That's it. Let's go to Mars. I decided this morning I want to go to Mars.
My life just sucks. I just have nothing to live for. I think I'll go to Mars. Fuck it.
That's so funny. It's so funny thinking about that.
I've got cancer. Fuck it. I'm gonna die anyway. Here, let's go to Mars. Fuck it. No, not me. Hell no. I ain't gonna be your guinea pig. I'm not getting no damn.
Whatever they come up with, yeah. Whatever rocket they come up with.
You're in that little hamster in that plastic ball walking through the house in your little ball.
That's funny.
Let's go to Mars. Wee.
Let me just keep crawling. I'll keep crawling and I'll get there.
Hope the door doesn't fall off. I'll be free, but there's no way or I'll be dead.
Oh, it's funny that they're talking all this stuff and nothing never happens though. But they keep talking it. They keep talking about going to Mars. Yeah, we're going to go to Mars.
How long would it take to get there anyway? What, 20 fucking years?
No, it's like 6 months.
It'd be 20 years on your body at least, so you come back. What the hell happened to you? I went to Mars.
What they say is they launch just before Mars gets to its closest approach to Earth, because Mars does kind of have a oblong orbit, and they'd shoot off to it before it got to its closest approach, and they'd meet up with it when it was at its closest approach, and it's like 6 months.
Oh, fuck that. That's the same thing as piggybacking the damn space shuttle on a 747. We made it back.
Yay!
No. Not me. Y'all have fun.
Yeah, it's basically they'd set it up where it's a 6-month journey. They can do that, and every 20 years it gets closer, so it'd only be 4 months. So you get there in 4 months. Right.
And see, I have all these old references from shows that I like to watch, like Twilight Zone. I've got a million Twilight Zone references. I think about the one where the guys, I don't know if you're into it or not, but there was one I was watching the other day, and these guys stole some gold, and
I've seen that one. Yeah.
and they get into these hyperbaric chambers, and it's supposed to be 100 years later they wake up. Well, there started out with 4 of them, and then when they wake up, there's only 3 of them, and they look over at their buddy, and a rock had fell in on his and killed him, and he was a skeleton. That's kind of what I think of.
Yeah, that's about like it is. And they're carrying all this gold down the highway, and they're walking with it, and each of them drop off because they get greedy, and he's carrying all the gold, and then he drops, and they pull over and go, oh wow, we were able to synthesize that 10 years ago.
Oh, this poor guy. What's
Yeah.
in his bag? And they open his bag, and there's gold bars in there. Well, why would somebody be carrying gold? That's not worth anything.
It's not worth anything. We start synthesizing it 10 years ago.
Dumbass and killed all his friends. Oh, yeah, I got the gold, and he fucking dies right there on the side of the road like a dog for nothing.
Well, nothing, because the guy and his wife are going, well, they start synthesizing that, making it, artificially 10 years ago.
Look at this dick over here. He's dead for nothing.
Uh,
He's thinking, yay, I won. No, you didn't.
yeah, I didn't read. There's also one where this guy, they did an Adam and Eve on that too. I think there was an Adam and Eve where he crashes on this planet, and there's this, she's like German or something, and they end up having a relationship after fighting with each other and everything, and it turns out, you know, the Earth is dying, and he went to this new world, and maybe it was a Outer Limits. Outer Limits was never one of my favorites. I have the entire collection on that. The Outer Limits.
I like the Night Gallery.
Night Gallery's good too. Night Gallery was a very good one.
My favorite one was I think he was homeless or something. I haven't seen this episode in a while. I need to look it up and see if anybody posted it. But he goes into this museum and there's a picture. He can wish himself into pictures. Do you remember that one?
I do remember that one. And it was a Night Gallery showing the picture and everything. And yeah.
He could wish himself into this picture, and it was the same picture, and he would go in there all the time, and he got to where he just never noticed what picture it was on the wall. He would just go in there and wish himself into it, and one day he goes in there and wishes himself in the picture, and they had moved the fucking picture, and now he's up on the cross like Jesus.
Oh yeah, I do remember that one. And he ends up in a bad place. That was screwed up. Because he ends up on the picture and
No way, I changed my mind.
Yeah. Well, there's all types of them out there between Night Gallery and Twilight Zone. I got Hulu. I think they got both of them on there, on Hulu.
I love Twilight Zone. Every time something weird comes up, I always use the reference, well, where's Rod Serling at?
That's right. Where's he at?
What you're witnessing is a dumbass over here that decided to steal gold from his buddies. He's a fucktard, and he lived as he died, or died as he lived. A fucking epic fail. This are all right here tonight on The Twilight Zone.
That's it. That's why I like the Outer Limits. It only lasted a couple years because they were so close to what the government was doing. The government shut them down and said, you can't do this anymore, because they dealt with stuff like, let's create an alien and say there's an alien invasion from Venus. And they made this guy into an alien that they thought, by sending satellites and stuff and landing on Venus, how he would be if he came to us. Where his ship took off after they converted him to a Venetian, as their minds were thinking, and it came back down. He found out he wasn't on Venus, he was back on Earth, and the ship came back down and landed, and he's out there running around with his big heart-shaped body and stuff, and big old eyes, you know, at the edge of the heart. Like a heart shape.
One of my favorite ones, though, I always think of when people start talking about the apocalypse and shit and the economic collapse and all that crap, is the one where the guy has the bunker and he has his friends over for dinner and the sirens go off, and supposedly they'd shot, the Russians had fired off a nuclear bomb and it was coming for us. And they all go down, you know, he says, okay, you know, we're going down to our bunker, and then he shuts himself in, and all the neighbors start fucking flipping out trying to bust into his bunker. We're your friends, man. You gotta save us. We've been transplanted. You can fuck my wife, man. Just please let me in.
He's going, oh no, we only got enough food and enough supply for ourselves. I'm sorry. I told you several months ago to do the same thing I was doing. I remember.
But that's not fair. You've got a bunker and I don't, man. We're gonna kill you and get in your bunker.
He's like, oh no, you're not. He had reinforced and everything, and they stay down there. And then they find out after the end that it didn't happen or something, right?
It was a false alarm, and then they come out, and then, you know, everybody's like this weird, awkward, like, oh well, are we still friends, man? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean anything by it, you know. I didn't really mean you could screw my wife, you know. It was just a joke. Yeah, that's kind of what it'd be like.
Yeah, that's what it would be like, something of that nature. That would.
Only with buckets of blood and, you know, house is burned down and dogs are dead, you know.
Well, I'm looking for that now. I'm looking for my Outer Limits collection. It gives me a list of everything that was on there. It was I got three DVDs, and it has all the Outer Limits on it, the entire collection, and it was fantastic. Actually, the Outer Limits was.
See, that's the kind of TV I like. I like the actually creative, sit down and think up some really cool scenarios. That's more realistic to me.
They were cerebral. They weren't like, I don't know, action in it. It was more, think about this. Think about this when this happens or something. Yeah.
And another thing is you couldn't figure out what was going to happen until the very end. I don't know how many movies I watch now, and within the first 10 minutes, all right, he did it, you know.
Oh, I know. I started doing that later on when they started coming out with these shows like that. Oh, I know what's going to happen already. Here, this is what's going to happen, and then it does. And I was like, see?
10 minutes later, you're going, okay, he's the killer. Game over. Now I got to sit through another hour and a half of this shit, you know.
Yeah. Here it is, right here. The Outer Limits Collection. Complete Original Series, Volume 1 to 3. Oh, man. I have to pull them out and know which one's which. Because each disc, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 DVDs on the Outer Limits. Outer Limits was the best one. It had like, everything is under control. Sit back and for the next hour, I'll tell you what everything is. Kind of like the mind control of it all. That was wild.
Well, I think I'm going to go to bed. It's 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock?
Yep.
Where you at? You must be really far away from me. I'm 3:03.
Yeah, I'm on Central Time.
The Central Timers. Out there by Kansas City. I used to live in Kansas for a while with a friend.
I'm sorry. Not one of my favorite states.
No.
Freeze to death in the winter and burn up in the summer when you're not dodging tornadoes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Outer Limits, I'll just give this to you real quick. The Outer Limits had, like, iRobot, The Inheritors, Keeper of the Purple Twilight, The Duplicate Man. I mean, some of these are really good. The Brain of Colonel Bram, Premonition, The Probe. One of the famous ones was called, looking for that one right now. It was called Orbit, and it was a device that they could look and see what anyone was doing around them. And they'd get on there, and it was alien technology. The alien was there, and it gave them the technology to do it.
I'm gonna have to stream some of those because I don't remember a lot of them.
Oh, the Outer Limits was real good. The original 1960 Outer Limits, not the new ones, but the original ones.
I don't like remakes.
No, the remake was kind of, it was in color and everything, but these are all in black and white, like Twilight Zone, and gave you that feeling of being back in the day.
Yeah, when you didn't need color. Fuck color. Who needs color? Could be black and white, please, where everyone smoked and blew their smoke in each other's faces and it wasn't rude.
Yeah, exactly.
You could smoke on a plane.
Yeah, you can smoke at a plane and a bar and any place you wanted to, basically. Now it's like, we're going to take away smoking in your house and your car. They were talking about that about 5 years ago, and I went, that's Nazi Germany. They did that in Nazi Germany, and they're trying to bring that to America? Really?
Well, in Nashville, when I go down to Bridgestone to go to concerts and stuff, what kind of made me quit smoking is we went to see somebody, and I'm standing outside. I'm standing out in front of Bridgestone smoking a cigarette, and this guy comes up. Oh, I know what it was. I just parked the car. And I come out of the garage, but I'm standing in front of it kind of close to the building, and this dude drives up on one of those Sedgeway things, and he says, you can't smoke within like 700 feet of the building. I said, do you know how queer you look on that thing? He just kind of looked at me like, what the fuck?
Not queer, you look.
Because, I mean, it pissed me off because he'd come over like he was like the fucking Nazi Gestapo on this two-wheeled looking thing. And I'm like, really? Did you just say that? I'm outside. There's no one around.
I know. It's like, I wonder in Las Vegas, I haven't been there since they passed all this stuff. Can you still smoke in the casinos in Las Vegas?
I
even know.
don't think you can in Las Vegas. I know like in Primm, which is like 45 miles away, I think you can still smoke in some of those, but I don't think you can in Las Vegas anymore. You can't smoke anywhere anymore.
Wow, in Las Vegas, they used to, if you went to the bar, they had these boxes full of cigarettes. You could just pick one up and light it up. It was complimentary. It was complimentary cigarettes, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll take one up. Just light it up.
No, it's like now if you're within 1,000 feet of the door, some asshole on a Sedgeway comes over and jackboots your ass just because you're smoking outside and there's like no one around,
It's like, come on. Give me a break. Give me a break.
And they've got camera angles of you in 1,000 different angles,
Oh, I know that. They put cameras all over the place. And spy cameras.
You can't tell me who stole my car, but you can tell me that I was smoking 500 feet inside the building.
Exactly. It's some stupid stuff like that. It's like, give me a break. It's like...
Tough shit. You can't
Okay.
smoke. See, that's one reason why I quit, because I thought, when it gets to the point where I just can't smoke anywhere, fuck it, I just don't need to anymore.
Well, that's right. I mean, when they start going, well, you can't smoke in your car, I know the house is next because they did that in Nazi Germany in World War II. They were getting to the point where they're trying to control. Everyone's got to be healthy. Good workers are healthy.
Slave.
Slave.
You have no health care. You haven't had a day off in a month, but you must be healthy.
That's right. You got to be healthy to be a slave to government. I'm like, what?
I'm the type of person that's like, fuck you. And, if I want to give myself cancer, get out of my face.
It's called freedom of will. I thought was in the Constitution, but apparently that's been removed.
Well, secondhand smoke. Do you not realize that there are some people walking the earth that I hope my secondhand smoke does kill? Does that ever cross your fucking mind?
Maybe that's the ideal. Smoke may give them something, but they got all the cures. But that's not the point.
I tell you what, 5 minutes alone with this asshole over here, I know. Come over here and talk to him for about 5 minutes, and you'll hope secondhand smoke kills his ass too.
Well, what really weird is that these people are out there that have all the cures. They actually got all the cures, and we're the ones that gave them all the cures for these 1% rich people, because doctors don't cure you of a disease, they treat you. Remember that, treating. That's why when some of these people that come up with this treatment and it will cure you, they can't use that word cure because the FDA will come in and shut you down because you're not allowed to cure anyone. You're just allowed to treat them. Treat them for their ailment, not cure them for their ailment. And that's always blew me away. I knew that's for 10 years. They started that 10 years ago.
Well,
They
my
started saying,
my grandmother was diagnosed with cancer in '91 the first time. And they took half her bowels out. I mean, they just cut her up. And, you know, they told her, they said, well, this will add 5 years to your life. Well, you know, if you don't know anything about cancer, you know, you think, oh, okay, well, instead of dying when I'm 80, I'll be 85. No, that's not what that means. That means you got 5 years, honey, because it's coming back. And it did. It came back 4 years later. She was dead in 5.5 months.
wow. See how they do that? You know, they were doing this. There was a doctor, I don't know if you read the article, but he came out and said that he was giving people diagnosis that they had cancer and started giving them the treatment for the money between him and the pharmaceuticals. And he was actually giving healthy people cancer treatment. Just came out and said, you got cancer. You need this treatment. And that guy should be put in wherever they could put him away for the rest of his life or something like that. Because he made it up. He just made it up and said, yeah, you got cancer.
See, that's one of those type of people that you actually hope that there is a hell so that they'll actually go there.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I hope Dante's Inferno, you know, that vision of hell where there's like a ninth circle where you're like up to your nose and shit and it's freezing, you know.
Something of that nature, or as in Storm of the Century, they have some type of repeating thing that goes on that they just do it over and over again forever. Yeah, Storm of the Century was great. It says hell is repetitive.
Like Constantine, you're constantly jumping off that building for eternity.
Or something of that nature, yeah. The movie kind of implied that. That was a Stephen King story itself. And it was just like, yeah,
Well,
that makes sense.
from what I understand, that's what Catholics believe. If you kill yourself, however you kill yourself, you have to keep doing it over and over and over for eternity.
Wow. I heard that, but it's just wow. It comes over that way.
And I'm like, who thought that shit up? I mean, really, how sick is that? You know, if you slit your wrist, you're in a bathtub for eternity every night, over and over and over. Does it ever get to the point to where it's funny after a few thousand years? You know, look, watch this, man. Like,
Look, I'm going to do this. See that?
watch me cut my head off.
Yeah.
It's really, you got to sit and watch this. This is just awesome. I learned this like 1,500 years ago.
Yeah. You got to see this. See?
Fuck wrist, that's boring. Here, do this. Cut your head off. I made your friends. Freak the angels out. It's awesome.
What a trip.
Religion, like the cosmic gag reel.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I watched the Da Vinci Code. It was a documentary, and they actually proved that Jesus was married. I agree, because he was a rabbi. Rabbis marry. It was almost back in his day, a rabbi had to be married at a certain age and have 2 sons before he died. And well, he had a daughter, and that's how the Da Vinci Code goes off. And Mary was the one that was going to take over the church after his death. So the woman was going to take over the church. That's why Peter was so upset over her having any say in the church. But as you read through it after Constantine, they took all the stuff out that Peter said, which was a male chauvinist, and took his stuff out of there. Basically, he kind of made a remark they allowed in there, but actually, she was going to be the head of the church, and it was the head of the Osiris church, because it was like the Egyptian. They do this. They said during that time, every so often, somebody would rise up and be Osiris or one of the other deities that were, an Egyptian or Greek or whatever, that would crucify them, have themselves crucified, and the woman would be the one weeping for him and come forward to take over the word of the
What
church.
the fuck? Have yourself crucified? I'm sorry, I ain't crucifying myself for anything. I got
Well,
to pass on that.
she never, Mary never had to crucify herself. She just took over the church and continued the word. And Peter's the one that came out and said, well, I don't like her because she is going to take over the church. And they even have in the New Testament where they make a remark in one of the Mark or one of them, Peter, it says that you actually feel more for her than you do for us, your love. Well, yeah, he was married to her. I guess if you're married to somebody and not homosexual or something, yeah, you're gonna feel for your wife, and your wife's gonna take over for you after you're dead. I mean, it was basically what it was saying. And this one lady was a Catholic, and she first read the Da Vinci Code by Brown, and she said she almost burnt the book, but then she went and prayed, and apparently she got a message saying, you got to look into this. And she went and looked it up, and sure enough, throughout Judaism, the rabbi is married. He does have a wife. The wife is the one to take over after him in the early Judaism, which is almost a Wiccan occult at that time. And she takes over the 12 apostles and continues the teaching after her husband's death. And this is all, put out there. It's all historical. If you look up really Judaism and everything, how the wife as a rabbi's, spouse will take over in some of the aspects of his life of what he was doing as a rabbi.
Have you ever read the Kabbalah?
Yes, I've studied it extensively.
I'm just now getting into it. I kind of like the Metatron part of it, but I'm starting to get into it. I mean, there's a lot of it that I'm not real good in math, so
It's
I can't
a lot of math.
yeah, I can't get into some of it's just too much math for me, but it's an interesting read.
They believe in number. Number is everything. When you study number is consciousness. It's everything.
Yeah, the mathematical formulas are a little bit much for me, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I studied Aleister Crowley's 777 book on the Kabbalah, and he actually went through, this is when he was in his 20s, he went through and numerized all the words of Hebrew where everything has a relationship to everything else through number. And it's fascinating. If you ever get a chance to see 777, the book, it actually, you go through that, and it has animal names turned into number. Everything's a number. Everything's a mathematical formula. And you just go, wow. It is basically, and everything in there is related to everything else through number, and it's all number. And you're sitting there going, wow, this is pretty fascinating how they related numbers together in Kabbalah.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. That's definitely occultic.
Oh yeah, it's a secret. Yeah, occultic secret. It's not evil. It's not this or that, or how they, have people out there going, oh, it's occultic. No, occultic only means secret, something that was not given to the general population. That's why they call it occultic. It was never given to the general population. It was only in groups, occult groups, as they call them. They got together and they worked on this stuff. And that's what, really, if you look up the words occultic and everything, and under the occult, it actually says, well, it's a grouping of people that get together. They work on this formulas that were in the Kabbalah, and they keep it secret to themselves because they know it was heresy to the church. The church was the Catholic Church, Roman Church. The Roman Church didn't like that. They didn't like it.
Same thing with the Masons. I mean, look how they're painting, all the Masons and anybody into like Oddfellows or any secret society. No, I'm not going to sit here and believe that everything about it's evil, because it's not. I've got family members that are Masons and shit,
It's just something kept secret. It's really what it was. They kept among themselves. The Templars did that because when the Pope said, kill all the Templars, along with this king who owed money to the Templars, and he convinced the Pope, send out on Friday the 13th, 1707, go out and kill everyone at the same time. And they plotted and went out and killed most of the Masons except for the ones that went to Scotland. And the ones in Scotland escaped prosecution from the Pope.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's why we have Friday the 13th. And it always blows me away. And that's where Friday the 13th came from.
Well, and they did it with the pagans, trying to virtually wipe them off the face of the earth just because they wouldn't convert. They're just doing they're just practicing the old ways. Well, we're going to label them evil and witches and make that a horrible thing, and we're going to make them convert whether they want to or not.
Oh, exactly. Because they wanted them to convert to their belief system. And it was the Catholic belief system they wanted to convert to. Because Pope is God, and, where was it? The other was...
It's the representation of God on earth.
Yeah, and the rest was the Holy Ghost. They did that to the Indians. They went out and did a proclamation to the Indians in South America and in America, and the Pope, one of these priests would come out with this scroll and read in Latin, which the Indians had no idea what they were being told. And it said, we will take your kids and everyone and kill them if you don't believe that Pope is God's representative and the Bible is the Holy Ghost, and we'll take your babies and slam their heads against rocks. We will take your country down. We'll grab you out and destroy your lands and take them over. And I mean, that was the proclamation. This in the general. I can't remember the exact wording of the proclamation, but that was basically it. And they've read this to the Indians, and look what happened. They got rid of the Indians. They got rid of the South American Indians when they sent them there and stuff. It's horrible. Actually, if you read the proclamation.
Well, how the fuck do you discover something that's already there and it's got people on it?
Well, yeah. I know. And
we claim this land in the name of...
Yeah, whoever, and if you don't follow our rules, because we're holier than you, apparently, you're the savages. Oh, no, they were not savages. The Indians were not savages at all. They had Father Sky, Mother Earth. They were there, basically. They had peace among themselves with religion. And they came in here and said, you got to accept this. And holding up a piece of paper in Latin at the they didn't have a clue what was said on that paper.
Oh, they didn't care. They were just savages, and they were going to take that land whether they wanted to or not, and you convert or die, basically.
Yeah, convert or die, because the invaders thought they were more superior than the savages, which turned out the other way around. The savages were more, peaceful than they were. They did the opposite of what their beliefs were. I mean, like I said, Father Sky, Mother Earth. I mean, the Earth, gives birth to plants and everything and raise up. Father Sky looks over us with the sun and everything and the stars, and it was just a horrible thing that they came over here and did to the Indians. But it made today, which I don't think is any better than it would have been if we never done that to the Indians.
Well, now we make excuses for savages, and we try to tell everyone that they're being anti-Semitic when they want to go off and cut people's heads off with dull knives and make it take 15 minutes to do, and we don't want to offend them. Thus, you
Yeah.
have ISIS.
Oh, see, I discovered something through my studies, which somebody brought up, and it made absolute sense. Is Isis, Ra, the god of Egypt, El, another god, Israel. 3 gods are in the name of Israel. And I sit back and go, but they got 3 gods, and they're supposed to be a monotheistic, but they got 3 gods: Isis, Ra, and El, Israel. I mean, it always blew me away when I realized that. And I went, that makes a lot of sense of Israel, and why even in Revelations that Jerusalem was going to be taken over by the Antichrist and ruled over. And we're in those times right now, because I've understood another thing. All the Palestinians that are being slaughtered are probably over 2,000 years uncles, cousins, aunts, whatever of Jesus Christ, because he had a large family. It wasn't just him and Mary and her child. It was his cousins, like the Baptists and the rest of them. They were all living during that time, and today they all have a piece of what Jesus's tribe was, and those tribes have actually breeded together. And I see that in Israel, they brought down the Khazarians from Ukraine after 1945. They said, where do you want to go? We want to go to Jerusalem. They could have went to South Africa, but they didn't want to do that. So they came down to Jerusalem, and they moved in, and they took over. And that's what we have today, the 13th tribe that's not even listed in the Bible.
Yeah, they've been fighting over there for 3,000 years, though. It's the same shit, just a different time period. They fight over beliefs and books and gods, and it's bullshit. It is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want to go by the Mad Indians from Corporate Avenger, I mentioned this only a few times. The Mad Indians, I call them, is a band called Corporate Avenger, and the state is a state of mind is the name of the album, I think, and they have a song in there. It says, the Bible was bullshit. The Quran is a lie. The Bhagavad Gita did not fall from the sky. These are the books that were written by man. If you listen closely, you may understand. And this is an Indian group from American Indian group. And they talk about all through that album about how their tribes were converted to go on reservations and was taken over. And It really pretty smart. It just look up Corporate Avenger on YouTube. Just put Corporate Avenger and go see BS and what is it called? It's called I know it knows it the song is uh, there's a couple of songs on there. They actually tell the proclamation in their album, and that's why I first heard of it. And then I looked it up, and it is even more extensive than he actually went through it as a lead singer. But it's Corporate Avenger, as in corporation, corporate.
Oh yeah, I'll check that out. That sounds pretty cool. Well, I'm gonna get out here. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I gotta go to bed. It's 3:30. Okay.
All right, see you later.
See you later. Take care.
You too.
And nobody, and then there was me. And still 2 views. I did spell that right. Thursday. Yeah. Uh, anyone want to get in before I shut off for the night? I don't know how you get in. Let me double check something. Okay. My truth crackers. Come truth crackers never showed up. Watch 3. Okay. Hmm? Remember that. Must have missed something. Okay. Silence. Okay. 23 people in that hangout. Wow. Currently, it's not open. You know where I'm at. 3 open windows. 2 viewers. And 3:30 in the morning. Actually, 3:33. 34. Okay. Guess I'm gonna end it here for the night. Had a nice discussion. Didn't know why there isn't any more. I don't get chances to talk this long on here. Things to do, work to do, and everything. Right now, I'm not working at this moment. Yeah. I've been on here. But I have my link there at Google Plus under Spellbinder. I'm yawning. It's not a good thing. Must mean it's bedtime. I'm going to stop broadcast right here. Good night, all. Have a wonderful Friday, if you're not already.